a job. Bruce, what you come back on here for?
Keep it funny.
They said Bruce the rest every time. Oh man, oh man, come on, Bruce.
Where Tazara? Tazara say what's coming on. Let's go. Don't come with that.
Hold on, Bruce went to get him. Oh, okay. Hold on, I'm putting a hold on, go. No, something wrong with your Bluetooth. You jumped in the car, Bruce.
What's that?
You know we can hear you, right?
What am I doing? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my stuff together to get out of here. Hey, listen, Garfield, I don't know why you come on here trying to deceive the masses with your foolishness. You know, I had a little bit of respect for you, but now I just know now, man, you full of demons because you're trying to
demons. That's all he got is demons.
Yeah, that's all. He full of demons, man. He full of a foul spirit trying to, you know, you're gonna accept Garfield over Dante, who said he's a Christian, over Tail Ministry, myself, Pastor Kelly, Benai Israel, who's bringing out truth, who believe in the Messiah, over this uncircumcised Philistine, you know, and this guy Benaiah brought a source that had never been presented to the masses, and Garfield was pissed off because Benaiah brought out truths, and so he had to come with all types of foolishness, brother Garfield. I pray for your soul, man, because truth is truth, and Dante laid it. Benaiah Israel laid it out. He gave you historical content. He gave you the sources. He showed it. He told people what to get. He told you what those Lacados were Jews. He showed you what Portugal did in the laws, and you still just rejecting truth. That's sad, man.
Come on, Taz right here. Come on, Taz right here. Don't nobody say we 13 hours in on the video. This video is not going to be, y'all not going to see this no more. And there's no way, I don't have it. They just said after 12 hours, on the replay, it ain't going to be there. Go ahead, Taz. I'll mute myself.
Shalom, shalom. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, everybody can hear you.
Is it like an echo or it's clear?
No, it's clear.
All right, yeah. I just want to say, first of all, I come in peace with everybody. I love everybody here. I love Garfield. I love Bruce, everybody. Even if they don't agree with the information, that's, there's no reason to, from my point of view, to be upset. So I just want to make that clear at first. But, man, I just got off work and I'm real tired. But I did a presentation on Dante's channel about a month ago, and then about 5 months before that as well, and specifically on this topic about Black Jews from Spain and Portugal. So if you could, I just want to show one source. I don't have it available to be pulled up right now, but I can give you the video that can you pull up YouTube and go to Dante's channel, and I'll tell you the name of the video. You can type it in, and I'll give you like the timestamp.
All right, somebody pull up that. All right.
Hey, before you do that, pull up the timestamp and everything. But this is what the gentleman just showed. This gentleman has it in his book, right? But he doesn't know that this is a manufactured meme right here. That's a manufactured
listen up, I'm going to Dante's channel, but listen up,
I think the Israelites make up the most memes in outside of every other culture. I've never seen a culture make up memes more than the Israelites.
I agree.
It's nuts. And even this one that BK Apologist brought out. Let me just show it real quickly for the family right here.
Israelite makes the most memes. Oh,
this one right here. This one right here. This is the one that everybody uses. Shout out to BK Apologist. They left black and came back white. This is fake. another one.
Well, that may be fake, but it's the truth.
No. I'm saying
They left, but
Bruce.
Don't do this. Don't do this, Bruce.
This meme on the left is fake. It's not true. This is the original, and we have the actual manuscripts of the original. It doesn't say this in the original. That is the point. All right? That's the point. You see, I'm not worried about anybody being black or white. I'm worried about African Americans claiming that they descend from people that they don't. That's what I'm concerned about. And lying about it. You don't need to lie. There's no need to lie about it. Benaiah Israel posted something that's not on the paper. He's saying something, but what is on the screen is not what's being said. And you fell for it. Go back and
no. You're trying to make his work a lie, which is not. And you're in fact a liar.
Well, if you want to call me a liar, bro, it don't matter to me because I'm not a part of your gang.
Yeah, but you called Benaiah a liar from the beginning because he blew your heresy away.
Because he constantly lied. He lied about Ola Uda Epiano and the whole Jacob and the nonsense. He lied about the Westminster logins of his name. He lied about when he was a slave master. He lied about everything about Ola Uda Epiano. Nobody's correcting him because y'all believe the same thing, so y'all can correct each other. When years a lie, I've seen Dante take stuff off his website when he's been pointed out wrong. I've never seen Benaiah Israel do that. You don't hear me calling Dante a liar. Why don't call Dante a liar? But why do I call Benaiah Israel a liar? There's a difference. One has integrity, one doesn't.
You
even pull stuff down off of his site.
No.
Dante pulls stuff off his site all the time. I've never seen Benaiah Israel say, you know what, I'm wrong. You got me.
No,
never.
Because he don't put no false stuff out there. That's just you, the way you presenting it, making it false.
Yeah.
That's all that is. Right. Ain't we ain't stupid. We know what you do. That's what that spirit you got on you.
By the way,
how come Bruce ain't talking about these memes? How come Bruce ain't talking about these memes? That's what we want you to talk about. What's the name of the video, Taz?
Hello? Okay. And peace, Brian. I forgot to say peace to you when I first jumped on.
Yeah. Peace to you too, brother.
The video is Black Sephardic Jews Part 2, presented by Tazara. And it's on Dante's channel.
Hey, Tazara, do you say, this is Garfield, do you say that the Lancados were slaves?
Honestly, I haven't researched that deep into them to see if they were, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything about them being slaves, but there could be something out there that I haven't seen, But
okay.
As far as I know,
let me ask you a second question.
Yeah.
Do you have any evidence of Lancados ever being carried over on any ships as slaves? Have you ever
were
seen
they black or white in your opinion?
Well, let me ask this first. You would say the Lancados were Sephardic Jews, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the source I'm about to show clears that up.
No. Clear. I'm not worried about if they're black. You're gonna say they're black, and I'm gonna show a source saying that they were white. I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing color. What I'm arguing is if they were slaves, because the Lancados were the main traders in the slave trade. They were the number one. They're the people that's the in between that's paying and trading. I don't see how we're this. As a matter of fact, look at the screen. Am I still on the screen?
No, I'll put you up though.
Yeah. Put me up for a second. Let me show you. This is a Lancado right here. This is what they look like. This is what the Senegambia era, when the Africans were drawing them with the ivory stuff. This is what they look like. This is what they look like. Who are these people? These are the Lancados. So how is it that we're going to run around? I'm not saying all of them look like this, but some of them did, because the Africans clearly drew them and shaped it up how they look. So I'm not going to play the black-white game where one source says they're black and one source says they're white. I don't care about that. What I do care about is the fact that were they slaves or were they carried over as slaves?
The source I'm going to show, it says nothing about skin color, and that's why I really love this source, because the way it explains what happened to them did not happen to white people. So that's how we know, even without it describing their color, that it wasn't the white so-called Sephardic Jews that this happened to. So that's what I was trying to say. But yeah, the images, I personally, I don't, I try not to get caught up on images too much, because there's no, you can find sources that contradict images, and you can find images that contradict sources. So I really like firsthand eyewitness accounts and stuff like that. But but yeah, the source. Oh, and Az, you still in here? Shalom to you too, bro. I heard you got a Sephardic ancestry from Portugal or Spain or whatever. That's what's up. I really took an interest in Black people who have ancestry going back to Black Jews from Spain and Portugal. I've been seeing you in the
Why
chat.
they gotta be Black from Spain and Portugal? Why they can't be another color? You see, it's all
Because,
about.
no, wait, let me answer that, because people always try to deny Black
Are
people.
we on here?
Huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
People-
Go ahead.
That's the main reason why I took such an interest in that topic. Black people have lineage going back to Black Jews from Spain and Portugal. Because whenever you talk about Black Sephardic Jews, people try to say there were no Black Sephardic Jews. They try to say, oh, they were white, they weren't Black. Sephardic Jews they weren't Black, they weren't Negroes. So that's what really pushed me to dive into this topic and find all the research, or find all the information that I found through my research. You can't deny that there were white Sephardic Jewish people, because there
No,
were.
I don't care. I don't care if they're white or Black.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm not one of those people who will deny that there were white Sephardic Jewish people.
Have you ever put that in your presentation that they were white?
At the beginning of the video that I just told Brian to pull up, at the very beginning, I make a disclaimer and I say that. But at the same time, I say I personally do not believe that just because they were identifying as Jewish, that they all descend from Israel, the white ones. So I do acknowledge them historically.
So it's a color thing for you then.
What do you mean by it's a color
So
thing?
a Jew can't be light skinned. A Jew can't be light skinned.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. There's
So
going to be Jews.
All right, let me give you an example.
According to my beliefs, okay, Blake Griffin,
Mhm.
his son is white with blonde hair. According to my belief system, he's an Israelite. So there's going to be people looking like Justin Bieber in the kingdom. There's going to be people looking like Britney Spears, according to my belief, that are Israelites. It's not really a color thing, but when it comes to the base population and what they look like originally, that's what I would say. They were of a certain stereotypical appearance. But
so
now
you don't believe what they run around calling like the small hat people. You don't believe that people in Israel are all fake. You don't believe in the 13th tribe, that book from Kutzler, author?
Well, when it comes to the people in the land today, based on prophecy, I would say that the majority, I can't say all of them, but I would say I don't think the majority of them descend from Israel. And even Abu, for example, he openly admits that the majority of modern Sephardics, modern Ashkenazi Jews are descendants of converts. So
somebody said that was a clip that they had Abu saying that, but I'm not sure. Maybe I did play, but I'm not sure. Somebody can find that clip for me, please.
I've talked to Abu about that several times, and he openly admits it. But he does clarify that he won't say that all of them are descendants from converts, but he does openly.
So you kind of hold the same position too.
Yeah, I can't say all of them are converts because but I will say confidently that I believe the majority of them are converts.
So you believe the original Hebrews were Black?
I can say that I believe the original Jews, the Southern Kingdom, were Black. The Northern Kingdom, that's where it kind of gets tricky because in the scriptures they were said to have mixed a lot with other nations. So I do believe that the Northern Kingdom too originally was a darker complexion, but maybe not like this is just my opinion, but maybe they weren't looking like Negro like the Southern Kingdom.
Oh, okay. No. That's all right. All right. That's a little better.
Right.
All right. Hold on. Let me pull this up. You said you got the time. Now y'all hear he's talking a little different now.
I mean,
he's talking a little different, Red Letter. Go ahead.
Camps teach that too, the camps teach that too, because Jacob, Israel, Jacob/Israel, he had 5 different wives, if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't all look the same. They were from different races. So of course there's going to be some diversity, but I will say that I do believe that they were all of a darker complexion.
Okay.
But,
all right. I hope Bruce hear that. All right. Which I'm gonna go to the first. You got timestamps for all this? I see all these over 2 hours.
Go to the one part 2. I'm just gonna. There's a lot of sources.
Don't even. All right.
Oh, well, Yeah, part 2
So
has the one.
there's nothing you want to show in part 1.
Nah. Yeah, I don't plan on being here for
Hey,
long. I just wanted
what's
to show one of the sources that, because when I popped in and I jumped in, I heard what you guys were talking about, and I was like, oh, I got a source, you know, that specifically deals exactly with this topic. So I thought I'd just hop on and show it to you guys real quick.
Okay.
And like I said, even if
this video
people,
number 2, you got time?
oh yeah, let me give you the timestamp. It's 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 48 seconds. And like I said, you know, we can all disagree at the end of the day. I'm not gonna hold nothing against nobody. At this point, I just like sharing information. You know what I mean? And whoever
you see where I'm going with this. Now, this presentation is about Sephardic Jews in America. We just pulled some evidence up showing right here that Moors were brought to America. And even though I brought out the document saying that Sephardic Jews were amongst the Moors, we can't really say, aha, you know what I mean? Not from this source alone. But let's go on to the last book and see what this last book has to say about all of this. Now we've reached the final book in part 3 of this presentation. Let's see what it's called. Carolina Genesis, Beyond the Color Line by Scott Withrow, published in 2010, another recent, very modern source. So before we get into it, let's quickly read a little bit about Scott Withrow, the author of this book. This is NGU News, North Greenville University. The title of this article is Retired History Instructor Donates Book Collection for Student Research. This is Scott Withrow. Dean of the College of Humanities and Sciences, Dr. Paul Thompson, said the acquisition is an important addition to the university's library. He's talking about the books that Scott Withrow has donated to the library of this university. The history department is very excited about this donation. As an instructor, Mr. Withrow has been a well-loved and valuable asset to the department because of his passion for local history and Cherokee history. And now in retirement, he continues to bless our department with this generous donation of important history books, said Thompson. We are grateful for his donation. Withrow taught Western civilization, history of Appalachia, colonial history, United States history, Cherokee history, and environmental history of the South during.
Right here, I was just like showing who the author is, you know, giving a little bit of background on him. He's a professor, or he was a professor at NGU University. But if you skip ahead like maybe 10 seconds, that's when I start reading the book.
All right, no problem.
Piece 93, what's up, my man?
His time at North Greenville University and said his collection is now more valuable to NGU students than himself. Then he goes on to say how he used the books when he taught the classes and whatnot. Withrow began teaching at North Greenville University in 1986 and retired in 2017. So now that we've read a little bit on him, let's get into this book. We're going to be on page 58. Now, this book by Scott Withrow, it delves into the, you know, ancestries of different people who lived in this area of Carolina, and it uses tools such as history,
what's the name of the
DNA,
book, bro?
and other things. But what we really want is right here at the bottom of page 58.
What is it called? Carolina Genesis or Caroline Genesis?
I think it Carolina with the A at the end.
Okay. All right. Are you on page what? 50 what?
I can't remember off the
58.
top of my head.
We want the footnotes. It says C.A. Westlager. Let me zoom in. C.A. Westlager, Delaware's Forgotten Folk, The Story of the Moors and Nanticokes, the book that we just read. Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania in 1943. And he quotes what we read in that book. Let's see what he says. In 711 AD, the Moors crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and began their conquest on the Spanish peninsula. After governing Spain for 800 years, the Moors were defeated by the Christians, Celtics, and many of their descendants were sold to the slave traders who brought them in shackles to America, like we just read in the previous book. Some of these Moors were Mozarabis or Sephardic Jews. Mozarabis means new Christians. I believe that's an Arabic word. It means simply new Christians, Jews who converted to Christianity for one of the many reasons, well, mainly for being persecuted. But it talks about the Moors being brought in shackles to America. And then it says some of these Moors were Mozarabis or new Christians or Sephardic Jews, whom Gadala identifies.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention, whether you agree with Garfield or not. Remember, for the last 8 to 10 years, Rawbond Garfield truth story has been saying no one came off a slave ship claiming to be a Hebrew, Israelite, or Jew. This source would destroy that argument by Garfield. But watch this. If you notice, he's quoting a source, and the source, he's actually not using the source, he's using the footnote source. Now watch what happens, because now if you're reading a book, and everybody in the audience, be fair for a second. When you read a book and you see a source, you believe the source. Well, have you ever fact-checked that source to see if the source actually says that? I want you to watch how Garfield dismantled this argument with how everybody should do scholarship. Because if a black man wrote this book, I would have never checked the source, right? Because he's black and it agrees with what I believe. But what if you don't agree with what you believe? You wouldn't even use it in the first place. But check how you're supposed to deal with sources and why I think I'm just the GOAT when it comes to research in this area. Check this out.
With the ancient Egyptians. Now he mentions another person who identifies
Hold
the
on.
Sephardic Jews with the
Start the
Egyptians.
video.
We don't care about
one
that.
second. Start the video 1 second.
What right here is it says some of these Moors were Sephardic Jews. BHI did not write this book.
Okay.
We've been through all the history.
That's
We
it right
started
there.
off part one about what ancient Jews, early century Jews, and native Jews look like. They were black, mistaken for Ethiopians, Nubians, all that. Part two, we went through what the Jews in Spain and Portugal looked like, how they were black. They were black like the Moors. We even went over the Sephardic Jews in places like India. They were called black. They lived amongst the other black native Jews in India, and so on. In part three, we went over the history of how the Jews were banished to West Africa, how they were black, resembled other Negroes, and how they were even slaves in West Africa. Only one people's history fits all that. We've also read in part three just now how a large proportion of first-generation African Americans came to America with Spanish names before adopting English titles.
You can stop it right there if you want.
Read that Moors and Sephardic Jews were taken as slaves to America. I'll read this one last time. In 711 AD, the Moors crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and began their conquest on the Spanish peninsula. After governing Spain for 800 years, the Moors were defeated by the Christians, and many of their descendants were sold to the slave traders who brought them in shackles to America. Some of these Moors were Mozarabis or Sephardic Jews brought in shackles to America. As I said just a few minutes ago, only one race of people or one group of people were brought to America in shackles, and that was black people.
Okay.
From West Africa.
Hey, you could stop that, Barry. You could stop that.
So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.
Azara, let me ask you a question.
And all the information that was brought out. I'm starting to lose my voice now a little bit, so
We're in there.
It's a good thing.
Barry, wait there. No, hold on. Don't move it.
Oh no, my bad. I'm sorry, y'all. My man just said I ain't even know. Go ahead. You want to go back? What happened?
No. Keep it right there. Keep it right here. Now, this word right here, some of these Moors were Mozarabes or Sephardic Jews, whom Gadala, who is the Gadala, by the way? Is that the guy Gadala that write all the pseudo-Egyptian books? Which Gadala is that, Tazara?
I'm not sure. I looked into him a little, but I didn't really put much relevance in what he said.
Now, if you notice this though, Gadala, whom Gadala identifies with the ancient Egyptians, because he writes all these books and say that everybody's an Egyptian. So these people, some of these Moors were Mozarabes or Sephardic Jews. Did you look up the word Mozarabes?
Yes, in the presentation I said that they.
All right, so let's take a look at what Mozarabes is. You could take it off the screen. Let's walk this slowly. Let's walk it slowly. Let's walk it slowly so that everybody could see it on the screen. I don't want to say what it is. How do you spell it? Mozarabes.
M-O-Z Arabes, I
All
think.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at what Mozarabes means. Should I use?
Your screen ain't up, Garfield.
Hold on, hold on 1 second. Let me find a definition here. All right, let's use a Wikipedia definition. Let's use a Wikipedia definition and see what we find. Hold on 1 second. Let me let this thing load up. All right, so here we go. Let me share it on the screen. Hey, can you take off Jameson's comment real quick in case it spreads on to Jameson?
I wanted to address Jameson's comment real quick. The book is about a single woman's lineage, but you know, if you read books, any book really, it could have a title and be dealing with a certain topic, but it'll also have information dealing with other facts. Like, for example, what we just read was in the footnotes of that book. So the book can be about any topic, but it can also have other relevant facts in there that aren't exactly related to the topic. And when you read like the old books, like in the 1600s, 1700s, they got like, there's not even like a single topic that the book is about. It's just a whole bunch of different things, just people just writing stuff, writing things that people have seen, witnessed, just common knowledge and stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter what the book is about if he's putting facts in there and making references to other things.
Okay. All right. So I'm trying to find, I'm scrolling through this to try and find where these Christians are called new Christians. That's what I'm looking for. And the reason why I asked if you look up Mozarab, because I don't know them as Jews. I've never heard them as Jews at all. They're not new Christians. They're just Christians that were living over in that region. They were never considered new Christians. But I can be wrong. All right. So that's why I'm scrolling through this to see if I could find that they're Jews. Let me ask Fortune. Fortune, have you ever heard of the Mozarabes being Jews?
No, I've heard of Mozabites. I don't know if that's the same thing. But it ain't gonna really matter at the end of the day. I mean, once y'all because we dealing with the morphological arguments, once we start really having that conversation, I hope we had that conversation while we all here. This stuff it's not gonna matter as much, really.
Well, I mean, the key thing in the book that I wanted to point out is that even if it says Mozarabes, like it gives one name that they went by or what they supposedly were. When I looked up the word Mozarabes, it said, "Can y'all hear me?"
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my fault. My computer's tripping. But yeah, when I looked up that word when I was doing that research, it said that it meant new Christians. But you know, it says right after Mozarabes, it says or Sephardic Jews. So it's identifying.
Where did you see that at? Where did you see that at?
Where
that they were new Christians and Sephardic. No, I'm not worried about the book because the book you don't have that source because the book that you use is using another source, the Delaware. I have that actual book. I can't bring it up right now. I won't bring it up. But I'm asking because
I read that book before I went to that one.
No. Listen to what I'm saying. The book that you use, that's not the original source. It is showing where they got it from, and where they got it from, they're using Gadala and somebody else. So I'm trying to slow walk you to ask you, when you looked up the word Mozarabes, where did you see that it says new Christian or Sephardic Jew outside of that book?
Give me a second. Let me see.
And the reason why I asked that question, family, is because the Mozarabes don't have a history of being Sephardic Jews. They are basically they are just Christians. So I want to know why the author says that they're new Christian. As a matter of fact, let me that's that book, Delaware, whatever, man. Let me bring that
Delaware's Forgotten Folk.
Delaware's Forgotten Folk first.
Yes,
oh.
yes. And that's
Garfield, I think I might have dealt with this source before. I can't remember.
Yeah, but the issue is it does say that the Mozarabes are new Christians and Sephardic Jews. I want to know why the source says that, because that's just simply not true. There's no evidence that the Mozarabes are new Christians. They are regular Christians. They're not new Christians. I'm just saying I haven't seen a source. Maybe you have a source that could point to that, because everything that I'm looking at, because even if we use Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia, this is why I scroll down to the part where it says culture and religion. Because if it says culture and religion, you would have seen it says that some of them were new Christians and da-da-da-da. You don't see none of that.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and find that for you. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you loud and clear,
Yeah.
brother.
I'm just making sure because I'm looking at another tab right now, and I want to make sure it doesn't cut out when I switch to the other tab. But yeah, I'm looking for that right now. I'm trying to find that source where I saw that at. I just typed it in Google, honestly, and I read like some of the first results said it meant new Christians or something. But let me see. But the main thing I want to point out before we get to that is that it identifies them. It identifies Sephardic Jews as being people who were brought over in shackles to America. So that's the key part that I was trying to hone in.
There's no records of Sephardic.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem, Garfield, because y'all gonna get stuck right here. We got to move on.
I mean, that's
no. I'm saying there's no records of Sephardic Jews being carried over as slaves. It doesn't exist. You have to show me that.
I mean, that's a professor of 20 years of putting that in.
Listen, I'm not discounting the professor. He's using another source.
But the source that he referenced didn't say Sephardic Jews. It just said Moors. So the professor,
he said the Mozarabis are new Christians. They're not new Christians. That is just simply not true. As a matter of fact, let's go to the end. Hold on there. I just realized something a while ago. Listen back to the tape. Remember, I want y'all to pay attention. And by the way, Nakia, nobody's destroying any Hebrew Israelite. Nobody's trying to destroy anything. It's just like if my brother Deacon or Gorilla Hebrew might do a video that say, hey, such and such crushed the Christian. And this is just one person. This is one guy. I say Hebrew Israelite. Nobody's trying to destroy Hebrew Israelism. It destroys. Just watch the video. This is how people should research the proper way. If you notice, he just said something a while ago. When I said I wanted to read the source, he actually changed what it actually said, because he said he went back and saw the source. So why would you put that source on the screen in your presentation on Dante where you're going to get over 10,000 views? That's very interesting. Let's take a look at this. Take a listen. Jews being carried over as slaves. It doesn't exist. You have to show me that.
I mean, that's a professor of 20 years of putting that in.
Listen, I'm not discounting the professor. He's using another source.
But the source that he referenced didn't say Sephardic Jews. It just said Moors. So the professor,
he said the Mozarabis are new Christians. They're not new Christians. That is just simply not. He said the source just says Moors. It don't says new Christians. Very interesting. So that means there is a bias in using the source. Exactly. It's join that person's source, not the theology of Hebrewisms. Now watch this, family. Hey, Ruben, by the way, if you want to jump on the panel, you could jump on the panel, by the way, my brother. Anytime you're ready. Not true. As a matter of fact, let's go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, which is what the consensus of scholarship is. So this is what the scholars pull together and say, hey, this is what it is. So let's see what that says. Now, if this agrees with you, then I ain't got nothing to say. Mozarabi, Spanish Mozarabi, any of the Spanish Christians living under the Muslim rule of who, while unconverted to Islam, adopted Arabic language and culture. Mozarabi enclaves were located in the large Muslim city, especially Toledo. I don't see nothing here saying that they're Sephardics. There's nothing. It just said that they're Christians. I don't know why the writer would say that he's quoting another book. He's quoting another scholar. Even Gadala is saying that they're ancient Egyptians. I mean, would you believe that they're ancient Egyptians?
It says he relates them to the ancient Egyptians.
Man.
What's the time period? What's the time period, Tazara?
What do you mean by time period?
Because I could have swore Jashub in this presentation that I had dealt with his presentation when he was still dealing with this. He brought this up, and I had found something out. There's some contradictory things going on here, so I want to know what the time period is that these Sephardic Jews you saying would have came.
Well, it doesn't give. I see what you're saying now. It doesn't give a specific time range in that book. It just talks about in the presentation that I did, that's the very last source. Like the timestamp I gave Berean, that's the very last source. I finished the presentation off at that. So the whole presentation, I'm going through sources showing Sephardic Jews in Spain and other locations in the world Then I go over their expulsion to West Africa, and then I end with them being taken as slaves and evidence showing that they were brought as slaves to the Americas. So that whole time period, covering all that, is like, that's from the. I also went into the wars and all that. That's like from 700.
Okay.
Yeah, watch it. Look
Garfield.
Hold on. Look at the screen. Cambridge University Press, right? The Mozarets, Marriage and Exiles. In November 82, during a brief stop in Toledo, Pope John Paul II was greeted by a representative of the city's surviving Mozarabic community and presented with a 10th century prayer book. It is not known whether John Paul, an amateur linguist of some note, opened this artifact of Christian fidelity written in a. All they have is a Christian history. There's nothing saying that their Jews are new Christians. And I'm just going through the different articles. I'm not even trying to beat up your source. I'm just saying.
Let me say this.
I don't know them as new Christians.
I get what you're saying, but let me say this. The source didn't say they were new Christians. I might have misspoken. I'm not sure that I did, because I do recall, I can confidently say that I saw something saying they were new Christians. But even if I'm wrong, I added that part in. I said that this means new Christians. The author of that source didn't say new Christians in there. He just said Mozarabis or Sephardic Jews. So I just wanted to clarify that. The new Christian part, that was me. So I either misspoke.
Thanks for your honesty.
I either misspoke or, But the point I wanted to make was that the author was identifying that Sephardic Jews were brought over in shackles.
Let me ask you this. Do you want me to pull? I think I have those slides. How long are you gonna be on here? Go ahead. 93. I cut you off.
Okay, so
if we could get somewhere.
Okay, so I remember Jashu, he had put up a source. It was saying Jews being sold to the Americans. The source was World Encyclopedia of Black Peoples, Conspectus by Harry Waldron.
93, you're talking about right here on this video right now?
No, it's an old video. I don't even think Jashu did with this stuff.
All right,
but
go ahead.
his source, it says 1532, that's Sedulus, proscribing the dispatch of any Moorish, Jewish, Ladino, or mulatto slaves to the New World. And when I looked into that, the cedulas is basically like a permit given by the Spanish authorities. And the word prescribed, I looked it up. It's one of the definitions is to condemn or forbid as harmful or unlawful. So technically, by that whole definition, it was saying that they had documents forbidding the dispatch of Moorish, Jewish, Ladino slaves to Spanish-controlled parts of the New World. And I got a couple slides. I got another source, We Are Moors by Anwar Majid, page 68 to 69. It says, in 1501, Muslims, Jews, heretics, and recent conversos were forbidden entry to Americas. Only the Negro slaves or other Negro slaves who were born in the possession of our native Christian subjects were granted an exception, which is how African converts to Catholicism, known at that time as Ladinos, arrived in the New World. So, so it looked like they was trying to limit Jews coming. Not to say that none could have came, because nothing is solid, but there was an effort to actually limit that, it seems, and that can be looked into. So,
Okay. Yeah, I when I was putting that together, I had to research that too, because it seems to contradict what we read. But Brian, if you could you pull up an article very quickly? If I give you the name of it.
I think Marine want to go to sleep. Marine tired of us.
Hey, Tazaraz, this the time you usually active? Because I know you got like a 10-hour difference, something, right?
Nah, it's well, I just got off work. I just started this new job, so
Oh, shout out to you. Make that money.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, I just popped in, and just wanted to see what was going on in here, and then
Nah, I'm trying to see what availability you have, because for people that don't watch, that haven't been watching, me and Tazara, as far as us, we basically on a cordial thing. We probably don't agree on information, but that's irrelevant. But I'm just trying to see if you could come and just have a discussion like how we have it now, because we just sharing information on this stuff.
Yeah, I'll be open to that.
Hey, what's the name of that? Hold on a second, guys. What's the name of that book again? Delaware what? What is it again? Delaware.
Which one? The original source or the one that?
Yeah, the original source. Delaware what?
Forgotten History.
Delaware's Forgotten Folk.
Okay.
What's it called? I forgot what the name of it is. Delaware Forgotten History or something like that?
Forgotten folk.
Forgotten Folk. Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah, I got it. I got
93.
it.
We could disagree until the day we die. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm past that too. Like, you know, it's just about the information at this point, you know.
Yeah, we gotta come on and have a discussion, because I'm trying to engage you on this on the lineage thing, because I know you done put out a lot of videos and I ain't been really in the mix with that. So I'm trying to see where you at with your information and your perspective.
All right, for sure. Brian, are you there?
Yes, yeah, I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for y'all. I'm trying to write this stuff down.
Do y'all remember what page it was on that source, that video source?
That wasn't this video. 93 was talking about the other. I think he said that was another video that Jazz put out from before.
No, you asking about Delaware Forgotten Folk. I don't know the page number, but
page
you might have to Google where it said Moors going to slavery or something like that.
Are you talking about the book that talks about the Sephardic Jews going into slavery?
Yeah, I want to go to the source where they got it from. Delaware.
Wait, Garfield, you talking about the book that's pulled up right now on the screen?
Hold on, let me look at it right now. Hold on. Yeah. Let's look at what page number it is.
That's page 58, if I'm not mistaken.
No, not the book, you know. I'm talking the source that they call C.A. West, the Delaware Forgotten,
Oh,
the source,
okay.
the Moors.
Yeah, I can pull that up for you too, right? Right here in my notes.
Trying to see what yeah, because I have the book. I'm gonna put the book on the screen. Let's pull it up. I have it right here on my computer.
That's page 4.
Page 4.
Yeah, right. It's at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, because they did a reprint. Yeah, that's the thing. It's they got one published in 2006. Like they did a reprint, but the original version came out in like the mid 1900s, I think. So if you got the one from 2006, it's on page 4. But if it's the other one, I'm not sure if it's the same.
Oh man.
But Berean, could you pull up this last article real quick, just so I can show something? Oh man, I missed him. He was just there.
All right, I'm gonna let someone.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
What does it say right here? It says it began their engaged in the Spanish. Moors were dedicated to the Christians. Many of them descendants were sold as slaves. They were brought in back in shackles in America. Some of these Moors are others.
I know people don't like, you know, the word black and all that. This channel, you know, you guys don't like to get into like the color side of things, but that author from the original source, he identifies the Moors as being brought in shackles to America. So, you know, there's only black people were brought in shackles to America. So that identifies the Moors as being black people as well. Although the author of that book, he tries to separate them from Africans, for lack of a better word. But, you know, what he can't get around is the fact that they were brought over in shackles, according to him. So he can't, you know, like the color, when you start talking about colors, things can go either way. Things start getting all mixed up, and you have to like actually really look into stuff to make sure the sources that you're reading are actually saying what you think they are. But, you know.
No, you're not crazy. That source definitely say that. I've encountered that, but I just was like, what the heck? I'm trying to figure. I'm like,
yeah, man.
Because it got to jail with history, and I'm like, okay, I got to see where he's getting this from. Because this, I was always wondering if the Moors got kicked out of Spain too. I'm like, why? Where they going? Like, where's their paper trail? Why it's just the Jews that get documented where they go? I'm trying to see where these Moors are.
Well, a lot of the Moors and Jews, they like lived amongst each other. Like there were Jewish Moors, and then there was Moorish Jews, and they, you know, I even read a source from, I think it's a Harvard professor or a Duke professor, one of them prestigious universities. He says that the Moors were a black race and that they had they originated in Palestine. So, and I go over that source too in that presentation. So that leads me to believe, and along with all the other sources that I've read on the topic.
That's when you got to kind of use common. That's when you got to like, whoa, let Moors originate in Palestine.
Well, I mean, that makes sense to what I've read. You know, They
With the Moors, which Moors?
Not like
Now
not the Arabic ones, but the ones who
Oh,
were blackamoors, the black ones.
yeah, that's he goes. Yeah, that's.
All right, hold on a second. I got something for you right here. I got the original. So let me show it on the screen and see how it differs from what the book says. This is why you got to go to the sources and see what they're saying.
Well, the only thing different is that the author on this one that we read, he added the part in about the Sephardic Jews.
But that's the most important part of your presentation. Without the Sephardic Jews, you wouldn't use this.
Well, that's not the most important part. The whole
No, but
presentation.
you wouldn't use it if it didn't say Sephardic Jews. There's no reason to use the source. Think about it.
I'm thinking Sephardic.
Yeah.
That's the most.
Yeah,
That's what we're trying to keep.
Well, yeah, it is. But
all right, hold on. Take it off the screen. Take it off the screen.
Other sources that I read identify.
Hold on.
Sephardic Jews were amongst the Moors.
Put that up.
That was just the icing on the cake.
This is the original source, right? So the original source says in 711 AD, the Moors crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and began their conquest on the Spanish peninsula. It was during these conquests that many were captured and their descendants sold to the slave traders who brought them in shackles to America. So in that sentence, that paragraph, there's no new Christian, no Sephardic Jews. This is why I asked what was the source. Because, and then they're throwing in Gadal and the ancient Egyptians, because it don't say that in the source.
Okay,
so when you use the source now and it says new Christian and you read it and it says it on the screen, and if I don't remember on the video if you actually read it out, but if that's the purpose of that part in the video, what what you asked Barry this year, because you specifically said go to this area of the video because it has the source that address this, and it's about the new Christians and Sephardic Jews. Because remember, the whole argument is about Lancados going into slavery. So you're now coming to say, yeah, I have a source that says new Christian and Sephardic. Without the new Christian and Sephardic, the source is irrelevant.
Right, I'm reading the same thing that omits that. So yeah.
So that source is irrelevant. You got to take that out that video.
Let's slow down. Let's forget about the new Christian part, because like I said, I added that part.
I can't forget about it, bro. Because that's the purpose of you.
No, he added that, Garfield. He ad-libbed that. So
he made that point already. He made that point.
Okay, my bad.
But Garfield is saying that was a major point. If he was adding that in and it wasn't in the reference in the book, I think that's what Garfield's trying to get at.
Well, Garfield's saying the Sephardic part, because the book doesn't say anything about the book.
But the new Christian part too, because the new Christians were the ones that were forced.
Well, the new Christian, the book doesn't say that. I looked up the word Mozarabes and I thought that's what it meant. I could be right. Okay, I could be wrong. I was still trying to. I have that source.
Mozarabes is not even in this book either.
But look, according to other research, I could, in that same presentation, I could show you a source that says the Moors had many.
You know what? Let's cue up that video where he said it. Because I need to hear it.
I need to see that too. I want to see it.
Wait. What do you guys want to see exactly? What are you asking?
No, I want to go back to what the video said where you made on Dante's channel. I want to go back and see what was being said, because maybe I'm misunderstanding you. I'm not getting what you're saying.
I got it right here.
Let me take this down. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, just to show you guys, I do have the book. Let me go back to page 1 and let me show y'all it's the actual book.
I'm sorry. Let me call you right back. I see you called me the other day. We live. I got Garfield in 93 on with Brother Taz. Yes, I'll call you back, Elder. All right, brother. I'm just trying to get this thing together.
He's like, get him off of there. Get him off of there, Barry. He's like, get him off.
Yeah. That's ambassador. That's my people there. They be like, yo, people be trying to call me so much. I be sleepy and be busy. But I love them folk. Let me put it up here. I'm gonna go back a minute.
All right. Let me also say though, that book that we're discussing right now.
All right.
Well, that was the icing.
So pull it back a little bit.
In the video, in the presentation, I showed another source that said there were many Jews amongst the Moors. So what I'm thinking is this author, he did his own research and he also saw sources saying the same thing, and he came to the conclusion that those weren't just all Moors. There were Jews amongst them, like how other sources say. So that's how he's come to the conclusion that, and also since the Moors were banished And also, since the Jews were banished, it also leads to the same conclusion that they were amongst each other. So that's how he was able to say some of these Moors were Mozarabs or Sephardic Jews. He's not saying all of them were. He's just saying, you know, a common conclusion would be that there were Jews amongst these Moors because they were already
All right,
amongst
hold
each
on, hold
other
on. I'm
before the
confused.
banishment happened.
I'm confused. Where does it say Mozarabes in the book? In the book, does it say that, or is it the source that says that? Because it's not in the book. I don't see it on the page on the book. I see it in the source that he used, which is the book that I brought up. So I'm saying, are you using the source or are you using the book?
Okay, when you say the word Mozarabes, you're asking where it is on the page of the book that I read in the presentation, or the original one?
You know what? Why don't we play the video? Play the video. Let me hear it.
Because I'm not sure
Because
if I
I'm
can heard it on the
confused.
video now.
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm literally confused.
All right, let me play from 2 minutes. What you said, 2 hours? Where did I start from exactly, Taz? Where I'm starting from? Where did we start from before?
If I give you that timestamp, that's gonna push you all the way back. You could just play right there and then go back, like hit the left arrow key like a few times. Like press play and then just hit the left arrow key like 3 times.
Gibraltar and began their conquest on the Spanish Peninsula to America.
Right there's good.
I'll read this one last time. In 711 AD, the Moors crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and began their conquest on the Spanish Peninsula. After governing Spain for 800 years, the Moors were defeated by the Christians, and many of their descendants were sold to the slave traders who brought them in shackles to America. Some of these Moors were Mozarabes or Sephardic Jews brought in shackles to America. As I said just a few minutes ago, only one race of people or one group of people were brought to America in shackles, and that was Black people from West Africa. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.
Oh, all right, stop it,
and all the information that was brought out.
Let me say this.
Starting to lose my voice now a little bit.
Before I forget again, please, before I forget again, in this presentation, before I showed this source, I also showed 2 other sources that said Jews were sold. Well, they weren't sold as slaves to America in those sources, but it said that they were slaves once they got to West Africa. So we know that
the Sephardic Jews.
Right. It says that when they got to West Africa, they were sold as slaves.
Do we need to go back to the tape and check those sources too?
We can.
I don't think you want to do that.
Yeah, let's just do. But is it
very? Let's stay right here before we do anything else. The purpose of you showing this book, bro, this is why I asked you the question. I'm not even arguing. I'm not debating. Is to show this citation of the book, Delaware's Forgotten Folk. Now, when I show the source don't say what this book is saying. So this guy who is hold on. This guy who is extremely qualified, because remember you talked about how qualified he is.
Yeah,
he actually made up the end part of the source because the source don't say what he's saying. So now it puts you in a problem now because now I'm looking at this. I got to look at Tazara's research sideways because now because of this guy. So now if the original, let me finish, beloved. If the original source, Delaware's Forgotten Folk, don't say that, because remember you're stressing and you repeat it, Sephardic Jews, and the only people that came over was Black people. I told you it's all about color. So you're saying these Black people came over as slaves were Sephardic Jews who were these Moors, who were Mozarabes, and that's not even in the original text. That's crazy.
And the bad thing is they're going to make it sound like Benaiah been doing that, mishandling sources, and other people in Israel that's leading researchers, because Dante been promoting your stuff also. So a lot of people look up to you, Dante, Benaiah, Ron Dalton, and all of that. And people been slowly pointing out stuff saying that they're mishandling the way the sources are coming from. People automatically get nervous in here. Taz, they trying to discredit you. I see the Ruddy Bruce saying that, but people are just looking at the stuff.
Hey, Barry, I'm out. Barry, I'm out of here, man. I gotta go. But
Garfield, hold up. Before you go, Garfield, hold up.
Okay.
Your main point. Let me clarify. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Your main contention with this source right here is that it doesn't say word for word what the original source says. Your main contention is that he added in the word Sephardic Jews.
He added the stuff that you're trying to make a point. Your point is made off a ghost source. There's no source for what he's saying. He made that up.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: when authors, because this is in the footnotes, right? This is in the footnotes. He's referencing the original source.
This is not the footnotes. This is actually this is the source. He's sourcing where he got it from. So something earlier in the book, like the number. You see the number right there, where behind Egyptian, Ethiopian Empire.
Okay.
You see that? But the point I'm making is you are showing this for the source.
Okay, now let me make my point. So are you saying that whenever an author references another author's work, they have to quote word for word exactly what that author said? They can't build upon it according to research?
You can't. You only could build within the text of the book. So whatever he makes up or adds on would have to be up here, and there would have to be a source for it. He's saying that the source that he's using is this, and it says this, and that's not true. That's a lie. That I couldn't do that in my book. In my book, they say that Garfield plagiarized, but you know why they said it? Because I didn't put quotation marks for a source. So if people are micromanaging my book, why don't we micromanage every book? Because this book, because it's something friendly and something that you like, I am saying because of your belief, you were quick to jump on the source without knowing if it's good, if it's good or not.
I have to disagree.
Yeah,
with you
but the problem ain't the source. The source is good. It's the interpretation.
The source.
No,
Do you understand what's going on? This guy.
No. Hold on a second.
Hold on.
Hold on. Let me respond to Marine. Hold on. Let me respond to Marine real quick. No, Marine, I disagree with you. The source, when you source something, you have to quote directly where you get it from.
Wait, what did Marine say?
The way it's written in the book. He should have did it earlier in the book. If he want to add on a quote, that's fine. Then we could see the source and determine that he did that. He added on to the source. Okay, you got to show where you got it from. He never, and I don't have this page to say, hey, I have the book.
This is it right here.
Okay. This is all I have.
All right, now hold up. I read plenty of books, and I see authors reference other authors' work, like how we see right here that we're talking about right now. And a lot of the times, the author that references the other work, they add on to it. They add on other stuff. So I mean, that this guy, you guys say we need to bring out scholars and all that. This is a professor at North Greenville University for over 20 years. He wrote this book. He's got the book is about DNA really, but he got all this in here. The book says word for word, Sephardic Jews were brought in shackles to America. So I don't see how I'm misrepresenting the source. This is one of those sources. Hold on. Let me finish.
Oh, man.
The book says, listen, even the people in the chat, like who was this? Big Nate and Jameson? I didn't misrepresent nothing. The book says exactly word for word what I said that it says. I didn't even interpret it till after I read it.
Do you agree?
Hold up.
Do you agree, Tazara? Do you agree that Delaware's Forgotten Folk does not say what the author wrote at the bottom? Do you agree with that?
It says everything word for word except the very last sentence. The author added that on. But like I said,
not the last sentence, the last two sentences. He added on the Mozarabes, he added on the Sephardic Jews, he added on the what is that word right there?
That's all one sentence.
Yeah. So the point I'm trying to make is you're not at fault for this. But I'm just saying, because the source said it, I like to check things. I like to go behind things. That's what I like doing. I'm a researcher. So if that's why, as soon as you said it, I said, what's the name of that book? Ain't nobody else would have asked you that. Fortune wasn't about to ask you that. I decided I'm going to look it up right now while we are live.
Wow.
So when we do it, I'm a real researcher. This is not a game to me. I like truth. I'm a researcher. That's what I have scholars who call me and ask me for my research. That's how deep I am in this game. So when you bring a source out, I have all the right to, because I don't have nothing to do with it. I'm home alone and I'm chilling. My son in Disney World right now with his mom. So at the end of the day, I am free. So I have the time now to have the book. I have the book on my computer and I could check it. And when I check it, it doesn't say what this scholar says it says. And that scholar, I'm gonna write him too. I need to write him a letter.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, man. You should ask him to retract this.
I'm gonna because now you made a whole video that probably 10,000 people watch. And now they're gonna be arguing. They're gonna be arguing with Garfield.
Let me finish.
Hold on. Let me make this point. Let me make this last point. They're gonna have people like Elder Higgins. I'm sorry, not Higgins. Crazy Bruce gonna come on here and said, I saw this on Dante. I saw Tazara say. And then I'm gonna be looked at as a hater. I'm gonna be looked at as a hater when all I'm asking for is to look true.
Okay, but look, the whole point of this presentation, I put in between 80 and 100 sources altogether. I think it's closer to around 85 sources. So like I was saying, this is the very last source in the presentation. I'm building up to this point the whole time. You can knock this source out of the presentation. I've still proven the point.
Okay, hold on. Let me get up in there. Let me
take one point.
You didn't spoke enough, Garfield.
Are you daring me to review? Are you daring me? Are you daring me to review this presentation, bro?
I mean,
yeah.
You already listen.
No, that's a waste of you be wasting your time, man. What you doing?
Why would he wasting?
Listen,
he's wasting his time because we don't really do this no more. We don't do this no more. We don't do this.
Like I said at the beginning, y'all can disagree with this. You don't have to agree with it. Like I'm just saying, like there's information out there supporting what I believe, what people that come on this channel, and what the Israelite faith believe. There are sources out there that say what we, what we claim. So that's all I wanted to show. I'm not trying to get into no back and forth boxing match. You know what I'm saying?
No, ain't no boxing match. I'm just okay.
Garfield. Let me finish, bro. I'm just saying we're not crazy. The book says word for word what I said it says. I just read the book.
It don't say word for word.
It says Sephardic Jews. I'm talking about this book right here that we're looking at, not the one that he referenced. I'm saying this is a scholar. He referenced the source and then he added onto it because he must have done research.
Right. Hold on. No. You let me go first, Garfield, because you said that.
Go ahead, bro.
Look, respectfully, if the author, because you using a secondary that's quoting a primary source, and the source, the author that you're using inserted things that were not there, I would have to fault you for not going directly to the primary source, respectfully, because you shared the information. Because if we got to be responsible, and like you said, you got other sources that support your point, but just for everybody, for me, for Garfield, because I made mistakes before. If you can go to the primary, why deal with the secondary? That's all.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from, but haven't
you want me to send you this book?
Hold on. Let me respond to 93 real quick. Remember back when we were dealing with the Lanzados, however I'm gonna just say it however it comes out, Lanzados.
Yeah.
We was dealing with that, and the source that was talking about them in Africa, it said some were white, some were in between, and then most of them were black. Didn't you in the past go back to a source that said that Jews, I can't forget what the source is talking about, but you did something very similar. You went to a source that came after the original.
Oh, yeah. You talking about Pete, I think you might have been talking about Peter Mark or somebody else's work. Yeah. No, here's the thing though. But there is no supporting for that source. There is nothing. It don't say that at all. Like as far as the Sephardic Jews, there's a consistent narrative. I know y'all don't agree with it. That a large amount of that is mixing. That's there. That's there. But if I did it, look. If I did it, I'm wrong.
Hold on. 93. Nah, stop.
Well, let him finish.
Stop. No, you know why? I'm gonna cut you off. 93,
I seriously don't believe that I am wrong.
You know why I cut you off 93? Because you went for the ultimate deflection. Now, Barry, share my screen for a second.
Who went to the ultimate deflection?
You did, because we're talking about this, and you're going to bring up something that happened in the past.
But we don't even know if that's true, though. That might not be true when you said.
No, we ain't worried about that. All I'm saying is the only point I'm trying to make.
Listen. Hold on. No, let me clarify. I didn't.
Hold on. No,
just in case people think that I. No, hold on
1 second, bro. There was no reason.
This might be a.
With all due respect, there was no reason.
Hold on.
Let me
clarify the point that I was making so that you can properly address what I was trying to say.
No, because there was no reason. I don't know why 93 even tried to answer that.
Listen, because he
I'm
understood.
not trying to hog the mic. I'm not trying to hog the mic, but let me go back to this source. This is the source.
I've been letting you talk like the whole time.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
You feel me? Like it's all out of love. But listen, all I was saying is that you guys are saying I went to a secondary source that interpreted a primary source. That's what he did. He referenced the primary source. He added onto it with his own interpretation because he must have did more research. All I'm saying is that in the past, 93 used the secondary source and it referenced a primary source, but it said something different than what the primary source said.
I don't agree with it. Now I don't agree with that.
listen.
You
Hold
have
on.
to
You
have to demonstrate that, Tazara, because now I can't be accountable for
It's
something
what I'm
that you might
talking
be
about.
wrong on.
It's what I'm talking about. It's what
Let
I'm
me
talking about.
finish. Let me finish.
It's what aboutism.
Let me finish.
What aboutism?
The primary source said that. What did it say? It said that the Portuguese were in large numbers in Africa. You know, it's talking about white Portuguese men. And then 93 referenced a secondary source that said that at this time period, all the Portuguese or Jews were known by Portuguese. So it's basically saying that anytime that you read Portuguese, it's actually referring to Jews. When the original source didn't say that the Portuguese were Jews, it just said Portuguese. So all I'm saying is that
if you notice, we're talking about a source that he presented. Now he's trying to bring up a source that 93 presented before, just to deflect. And I'm trying to tell 93, don't let him tell you all of that. We're dealing with his source right now. That's all we're talking about. So no deflection. But check this.
And listen, that
Garfield, why you keep jumping in?
93. You see the problem? You see the problem?
Right. You trying to jump back. You trying to jump back to something we don't even. We'll be arguing about whether you even right about what you're talking about. We'll be arguing about that.
We're talking about this quote right here at the top of the screen.
Yeah, we're talking about this particular source. But if you want to challenge me on that, I'll be more than willing to go back to that.
In 711, the Moors crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and began their conquest on the Spanish Peninsula.
You don't gotta keep reading. We read it, bro. We read it.
Many were captured and their descendants sold to the slave traders who brought them in shackles to America. It don't say Sephardic. It don't say new Christians. It don't say Mozarabes. It don't say none of that. That's the point of the conversation. That's all I want to do.
So we don't use this source no more.
I'm just saying that's it, and I'm done. And Barine, hold on. Let me say goodbye to Barine. Barine,
bro, okay.
I'm out of here. Hold on, Tazara, hold on, bro.
You just want to say what you want to say and you just jump off,
bro. Hold on, bro.
I never got to finish a complete point.
Bro. I'm trying to tell the host of the show I'm leaving. Y'all support Brother Barine. Hit him up. Barine Teach. Hit up that Cash App. Barine, you my man for life. 93, I'm out of here.
I appreciate you, fam.
Thank you.
All right, I'm hollering later on. Go ahead, Taz.
I'm right here, Tazara. If you want to address me, I'm right here.
But wait a minute. Let him finish and go ahead. And then you go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead, Taz, you have the floor.
Yeah, 93. Let me clarify. The source that I was talking about where you referenced the secondary source, I'm not even saying that the secondary source was incorrect when it added on its own interpretation to the primary source that was in question. I'm just saying that I was using that as an example to show that scholars, they reference primary sources and they do their own thing with it according to the research that they've come across. So I wasn't accusing you of misrepresenting any sources or anything like that. I'm just saying that I was just using that as an example to show that, secondary sources, they don't always just go with information that was in the primary source. Because if that was the case, they could just copy the same thing as the primary source. That would be plagiarism. So even in college, when you reference a source, you don't just quote the same source exactly word for word, like how Garfield was saying should have been done. They add stuff onto it. So that's I
don't think there's nothing there to support that though. Like it's gone. Now, whatever I did, I might have not to make special pleading for me, because special pleading is rules for me that you can't follow. There might have been more to that Sephardic and African thing that supported, because this whole Mozabite Moors coming to America thing, that's kind of out of, it's kind of odd. And it's in, like I read earlier, there's evidence supporting that they were limiting that or even stopping that. So I would say this,
not to cut you off, but an article. Yeah. My bad, I feel bad with that. But the article I was going to ask Brian to pull up, it said that there was a decree where they were trying to limit that, but this article says that the slave traders largely ignored the decree because the people that they were enslaving were more literate and skilled in trades. So
are they more literate than the crown? Still to the crown?
What do you mean?
Who? You said the slaves or the people who ignored the crown is more literate?
Oh no. You were talking about how they made.
Hey, the link is at the top of the screen. If anybody want to come on, Aidalam Ben Yahawada, if you want to come on, or Hugh Dixon, if you want to come on. You see, y'all too sensitive. That's why you don't have the truth. If you have the truth, you stand on your truth and you live your truth. So people see you as an example. The question I ask to every Israelite: how is your life better than the average African American? Will the police not stop you because you're an Israelite? I mean, like, how is it better? You guys are talking like you made it or whatever. Come on. What are we talking about? Come on the panel and let's have a conversation. Let me stop the video for a minute because I'm going to come back to the video and play this part. But I wanted to bring something out that was very improving. Disproved prophecy. I'm going to deal with you in a second, right? Garfield has made the claim for the last 8 to 10 years. Show me any person coming off a slave ship claiming to be a Hebrew, an Israelite, or a Jew practicing the culture. Show me anyone. Why is it they're coming over practicing all those Africanisms that we see? I would love to see this. So this is what I'm going to do today for everybody that's watching. Let's take a look at this right here. And by the way, my email is askbrothergarfield@gmail.com. But take a look at this right here. This is an article that came out, and I have the book right here on my computer too. This is Black Perspectives Making Race in British Colonial North America. Now look at this right here. Let me make this bigger so you at home can watch this. And this is why they say King James is black and all this black stuff. This is why. And this is the perfect book for anyone who wants to study this, because these people, they don't like to study. They just copycat what the so-called elders in their groups believe, and they believe it's true. Shout out to Yawasap and shout out to Priest Daniela, because they're not like that. But let's talk a little bit. All right, much love. What's on your mind? Peace. What's up?
Okay, yeah, I was delayed by speaking.
What's on your mind, sis?
Yes, you are 100% correct. The reason why, to me personally, a lot of people feel the Most High in whatever way they feel it. And then when they feel the Most High is broken down to where you ought to belong to me, I'm Israel, you ought to belong to me, I'm Christianity. Because each individual that feel the Most High, people want to separate that into a group or a culture, things of that nature. And so me personally, I'm just out here, I know the truth and things of that nature. And it's just like a lot of people think that they are elite when it comes down to, if I, whatever culture I am, and if I'm studying it and if I'm real like that, it make me, like elite from feeling the pressure and pain out here. And when they bump into people, this is definitely back on your subject. When they bump into people that feel the pressure and pain, they always look down upon them and always want to school them instead of saying, I am just like you. The only difference to me is that I am very educated about who I belong to. Just say that. Just say you're very educated about the Lord that you belong to instead of shunning people that want to belong to the Lord that you belong to. And then when people like us or people like other people get into trouble, they always shun them. Now, are we on that subject or?
Okay. Hey, sis, hold on 1 second. Let me just make this point real quick, and then I'll get back to you, okay? So you could stay right here. You could just mute your mic for a second. I want everybody to listen to this. Idalam Ben Yahawada, Marquise the Cushite, Hugh Dixon. I want you to tell me where I'm wrong. Now look at this book that was written a couple years ago. When confronted with 3 18th century newspaper advertisements, and the 18th century, for those who don't know, is the 1700s. The advertisement seeking a missing man from Connecticut named Ishmael Mux of a white complexion. What does a white complexion mean to the Israelites and audience? It means a white man. If you're reading this, you're reading this with a 21st century mindset. A missing Pennsylvania man named John Daly, who had a black complexion. Okay, with bushy hair. So, that's a black man. And the man who went missing on his way to North Carolina named, yeah, somebody coming on and said they're sick of my lies. Oh man, I'm gonna bring you up as soon as your connection is better, brother. And the man who went missing on his way to North Carolina named Andrew Vaughn with a red complexion. most readers would presume that their complexions, white, black, and red, indicated their what do you call it? Indicated their race. However, as Sharon Block shows in her latest book, Colonial Complexions, Race and Bodies in 18th Century America to 18th Century Readers, white, black, and red complexion did not automatically parallel European, African, Native American heritages, respectively. In fact, Ishmael was described as mulatto, John as Irish, and Andrew was listed as an infantry in the British 40th Regiment, was born in Philadelphia with no nationality. Skin and hair appearance were features related to but not constitutive of ethnic or national background. This is but one of many examples Sharon Block uses to illustrate how the relationship between bodily descriptions, ethnicities, and racial meaning are not transhistorical, but developed through contextual specific discourses that have changed over time. Now, the guy that they described as John was a black guy, was called black, right? If you look at the top, it says John Daly was a black with, hold on, right here. John Daly was black, complexion with bushy hair. And down here, John is Irish. You see why the One West camps teach that the Irish were black? Do you see why? It's because the Irish were called black because of their black hair, or sometimes their black eyebrows or their black eyes. It has nothing to do with their actual skin color. In fact, in Ireland and Scotland, it's the Gaelic language. They don't call black people black. They call them blue people in their language. They call them blue because black is connected to the devil. The word for black people is the devil in the Gaelic language. So you reading that, family, let's be fair. You reading that 300 years later, wouldn't you think that those people are black people when you're reading it? You would say, oh, they're black. They're black people. They're black.
Can I say something, brother?
Hold on, sis. Let me get Believer of Yah in here for a second. Let me get his comments real quick on this. Go ahead, Yah.
Hello.
Yeah, peace, my brother.
Hey, what's up, man? Everything going?
Everything is going good. You have a comment you gotta make?
Yeah. I got a question for you. Would you say that the first people in Africa was, let's say, black, so everybody could, know what we talking about? Would you say they was black or they was white?
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything? I'm trying to figure out your argument. What does that have to do with anything?
Because first we need to prove a point who was where first.
All right, you know what? Do me a favor.
Do me a
favor, sis. Hold on, sister. Hold on 1 second. Mute, both of y'all mute up. Hold on. Let me finish this point real quick. Let me finish this point in this article because I'm here to teach. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to teach because I'm beyond.
Well, you got to teach truth.
Hold on. Let me finish, brother. Let me finish reading the article. Then you could come off your mic. All right. Let's deal with this article first, and then you could come back and ask if Africans are black or whatever. Let me finish this. I thought you was talking about what we said earlier or whatever. Because if you see, this is where everybody goes wrong. You see, the color game is a stupid game. I'm gonna tell you why. Because the original Europeans were dark brown skinned people. They didn't have what we call quote unquote white people until around 10,000 years ago, scientifically speaking. So the people before that were in Europe didn't look like the white people now. But let me finish this argument and shout out to the people who want to learn something. Remember, in Israelite doctrine, I've heard that King James is black. I've heard about John Mackey talking about black complexion. I've heard people describe people in Sephardic Jews and Lancados are called whites in documents. I've seen rabbinical Jews or Ashkenazi Jews being called black in documents. Read Tudor Parfit's book about hate, something about hate. But look at this. Let me do this again, and then we could get into all this black stuff. Look at this. In the 18th century, newspaper advertisements talk about people looking white. Ishmael Mux of a white complexion. Mississippi, Pennsylvania, John Daly had a black complexion. and Andrew Vaughan had a red complexion. In fact, Ishmael was described as mulatto, John as Irish, and Andrew was listed as an infantryman, and he was even no nationality or ethnicity specified. I want to say this to everybody. For decades, scholars have investigated how and when our understandings of race as a category of human difference emerge. Block builds on foundational work by Winthrop Jordan and more recent scholarship by historians and literary scholars like including Kim Hall. Kim Hall is a part of a research called The Whiteness of King James and His Whiteness. I urge everybody who's an Israelite claimant who said King James is black to read this. At his funeral, they said he was a white man. King James, the guy that's talking about him, comparing him to Solomon, said he was a white man. But we are teaching he's a black man, which is absolutely nuts. But anyway, let's look at it though. Early modernist consensus on the history of race as our point of departure, concurring that before the 19th century, the racial categories of black and white were not yet fully realized. Thus, colonial complexions interrogates the implicit meanings of the terms British colonists used to describe difference. She posits the last quarter century before U.S. independence as a transitional period in which race was still being constructed in vernacular early American culture. Europeans, look at this, elite 18th century Europeans believe complexion signified the body's internal workings. So when they say black complexion, they're talking about including your health, your character, and your behaviors. So when they say complexion, let me say it again. Elite 18th century Europeans believe complexion signified the body's internal workings, including health, character, and behavior. So when you read and you hear, oh, he's black, he's white, he's this, it was about their health, their character, and behaviors, not based on the color of their skin. John Mackey is the perfect example. He talked about, you had this guy, he had the black complexion, and we say, oh, you see, the people in British, they were black. And we start arguing. But I got to add this to the conversation before y'all get upset and mad. Listen to this carefully now. What did the British call African people or brown-skinned people in that time period? They called them, listen to this, they called them Negroes, they called them Moors, black Moors, or they called them Ethiopians. I'm going to say that again. They call them Negroes, they call them black Moors, or they call them Ethiopians. When they're talking about their own white people, they call them black, they call them swarthy, they call them dark. I'm going to say that again. And if you look up those words today in the English dictionary, they all mean black some way, somehow. So now for you to read this, hey, Adalam Ben Yahuda, I'm not arguing with you, bro. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just here to teach. I am saying to you, what you're reading and you think you're understanding, you are not really understanding it. It takes a scholar to go back. And if you don't want to trust this white lady, Brock, we have Kim Hall, who's an African-American here, who did the research. Real Judah, if that's how you feel, you could come on and we could discuss that as men. I'm telling y'all, don't be scared. Is he believer of Yah? This is my dude. He watch my show all the time. But we got to be reasonable in our description and how we look at the scholarship. Because One West, I'm telling y'all, all the King James is black people, you are incorrect. I'm telling you, and I could prove it. I've been to England when I was promoting my book. I brought over 200 books with me when I was promoting my book. And I went over England, sold almost every single one of them. And while I was doing that, I was touring all the museums to get information to bring back to y'all. And I went to the secret rooms. I heard priest Daniela of Lands of Israel speak of secret rooms. And I went down to the secret rooms. And the images that I saw, I never saw them in public before. So priest Daniela was correct. There is a secret room. And the secret room is so crazy, family. When I went to the secret room, they had a cabinet. They brought the documents to the cabinet, put it in the document, locked it up, and told us to wait for somebody else to come and open it and give it to us. Then they left us in the room and still was watching us from outside, making sure that we're not doing anything bad. So this, I'm not
trying to tell you don't believe in the Most High, don't follow the laws and stuff. I'm not saying none of that. But this claim that you are the original descendant of original Hebrews are Israelites, I don't believe it one drop. But hold on, let me just finish the article and I get the comments in 1 second. Let me just finish the article. So again, elite 18th century Europeans believed complexion signified the body's internal workings, including health, character, and behaviors. Europeans used humoral theory to assess and selectively apply particular physical descriptors to people of different social statuses and overlapping ethnic, regional, and gender identities before racial categories were solidified in the 19th century. Block shows that common British colonists shared these beliefs and relied on humoral theories to describe Europeans, Africans, Native Americans when they crossed the Atlantic. Now, family, listen to me now. Block reveals that these words often connected free and slave status signal whether a person was of European, African, or Native American descent. However, the term used to describe complexions like dark, black, fresh, white, and ruddy reflected humoralism and did not have fixed or mutually exclusive racial meanings as they do today. Let me say that again. However, terms used to describe complexions like dark, black, fresh, white, and ruddy reflected humoralism and did not have fixed or mutually exclusive racial meanings as they do today. By quantifying and conceptualizing these kinds of descriptive patterns, Block eliminates the contemporary connotations of the phrases colonists use to describe physical appearance. This is the book. I have the book. It's on my computer. If y'all don't believe me, let me show y'all in a second when I'm done. Block also reveals how non-physical descriptors came to carry social and racial connotations. For example, Block's analysis of missing persons' names reveals that the diminutive names like Fanny and Will would have implied that the missing person was enslaved. Fanny Lou Hamer. You remember Fanny Lou Hamer? Would have implied that the missing person was enslaved. You see those little things? I don't know. I don't know that. So she also unpacks more explicit racialized and gendered terms such as wench, bed wench, squaw, and Negro, and links them gendered conceptualizations of birthplace, national, or ethnic belonging, free and unfree status. Now look at this. For example, Negro signified what? African descent. You remember when I said in England what they call them? They call them Negro, because we know the word Negro means black. So why didn't they just call them black? Because Negro in Spanish is black. But Negro had a specific meaning. It means you're of African descent and you may have an enslaved status, even though it was not necessarily tied to a black complexion or other physical features associated with Africans. This is deep. Block explained that colonists used qualifiers with wench and Negro, such as commentary on birthplace, clothing, social status, complexion, speech, and hair texture to assert or conceal a person's enslaved or free status. Likewise, she showed how colonists' representations of speech patterns affect behavior and dress facilitated the racialization of character traits by historicizing British colonists' discourses about European, African, and Native American people. Block traces the antecedents of modern racial ideologies. Block scrutiny is not limited to 18th century descriptions of human difference. She also discouraged scholars from anachronistically imposing the modern racial categories of black and white on early modern people. She stresses that using the terms like black and white apply modern racial taxonomies to the early modern period and obfuscate both the history and social construction of racial ideologies. Her epilogue provides timely, present-day examples of the dangers of essentially modern racial categories, such as racialization of DNA profiles. To avoid the anachronistic application of black, white, red as racial categories, Block chooses to use African-descended, European-descended, Native American-descended, or specific national or cultural terminology such as Angolan, Igbo, Irish, or Creek. Family, this book is deep. I'm telling you, deep as they can be. Deep. And just to prove to y'all that Garfield not playing around, I want y'all to take a look at this right here. This is the book on the screen right here. Right here. See, I got it. I got it right here. It's only like 120 pages. All right. Now, why did they paint over so many pictures of the original biblical figures? Why? Look at this. Why do all the prophets of Deuteronomy apply to us? Why are these so many shrines of the black man that are still in Europe? I got you, my brother. I got you. Now, believer of Yah, the floor is yours. I'm not going to interrupt you. You got your 2 minutes. Go ahead.
You talking to me?
No, not you, sis. I'm talking to believer of Yah. I had cut him off earlier.
Garfield.
There you go. You got 2 minutes. I'm not going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Garfield, you my guy. And I know you like to listen to what, you know, the white people put in everything. Top Cats, and you know him, did a lecture. And his lecture was very excellent. He had proven King James being black, the Sephardic Jews. He had proven all that. Dane Calloway book, I'm telling y'all now, get his book. It got a lot of sources in there that prove that the Sephardic Jews, a lot of people, a lot of information, even about the slave trade. Prove like he have sources and he have proof to prove that they were black people. Garfield, you need to get his books.
My brother, we have his book, and in the next couple of weeks, you're gonna see everything get refuted. He doesn't source like you say he sourced. He has a bibliography at the back. He don't source his book. There's no sources.
How about
hold on. I'm sorry. I apologize. I interrupted you. You're 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Top Cat's book just came out. $35. When I'm telling y'all that his book is very informative, give you information on King James, Christopher Columbus, the Sephardic Jews, Isabella, Moors. You need to get the book, Garfield. First be
so you basically
do all of these little claims.
All right. You just basically promoting Top Cats and Dane Calloway. I thought you had some information. You just need to promote foolishness. Go ahead, sis. Much more. Go ahead.
Okay, give me 2 minutes. Here's the thing with me.
10 minutes.
Okay, no, I ain't say 10 minutes. I said give me a few minutes. What?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, sis.
Oh, wait a minute. I just got kicked off for some reason.
No. You got kicked off the other one. You had two up.
Okay, so I don't care if you can still hear me. Here's the thing. Can y'all still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, here's the thing with me. And please allow me back up, because if I do anything with my pad right now, it's going to completely knock me off. So as long as I can be heard, it can be real. See, here's the thing. I understand all of us got plenty of knowledge about back in the day, but see, we losing people in the day, you see? So we can go way back in the day and we can express the knowledge on how this and how that. But see, there's a situation, there's a crisis happening right now, right? And sometimes we lose so many brothers and sisters by the first thing we do is want to go back in history, right? But instead of going back in history, we got that knowledge, okay? I believe we should have it forward with them and say, look, and put it forward with the young brothers and sisters as far as us. We got that knowledge inside of us. So we should put it forward for they can believe in us, for they can run back to us. But these brothers and sisters, these young, but they don't believe in us. It's because everybody's always running them away. Some sort of speaker, they always got to think they got to be knowledgeable. They always got to think they got to be upright in order to get with people like us. So therefore, I think the first thing that we need to address things at hand. We already know the back page, okay? So I think we should start getting on the front page what's happening right here and right now. We need to start addressing the brothers and sisters and being here for the brothers and sisters at that particular moment. And then once they get comfortable with us, then we can go on the back page. But a lot of people is running away from older brothers and sisters with that knowledge is because, you know, they probably ain't felt that knowledge. They probably don't study. They don't got time to study. They too much out here in these streets. Okay. So I feel as though instead of always reaching and trying to gravitate people back knowledge, things that already happened, I think we ought to reach brothers and sisters with the front knowledge, things that's happening right now. You feel me?
All right. No problem, sis. I appreciate that, sis. Mute up for a second. I got you. Mute up for a second. Hey, let me make an announcement real quickly to the family. The Black Hebrew Israelite doctrine was made in America. All right. He said to Garfield, what is your proof? I want y'all to take 15 minutes of your time, get a piece of pen and get a piece of paper. Because what I'm going to say to you, you won't hear it from the people who believe what you believe. All right. Pay attention, and I want y'all to learn. Pay attention. All right. The first thing is this. I want to say is no Israelite group in the diaspora shares the belief system with these, what I call closet Christians. And I'm going to say it again. No Israelite group in the Jewish diaspora shares the same belief as these closet Christians. Why do I say that? They believe in Jesus as they call him Yahweh, and he's the Messiah. Show me a Jew in history in the diaspora right now in Africa, in West Africa, in North Africa, in Northwest Africa, Lemba. Show me any Israelite in history that was going around teaching that they believe in a New Testament and they believe that Jesus is the Messiah. So they are the only people before, and only people that might be before them is the Jews for Jesus Baptist people, 1960s. And it's so coincidental that Abba Bivens is close to that time period of branching away from rabbinical Judaism to start teaching the New Testament. It's just so coincidental. 1960. 1969, you have ICUPK or ISUPK. Abba Bivens. Watch this. The Old Testament and New Testament have a belief in Jesus Christ is not found in any Hebrew claimant worldwide prior to these Americans. I'm going to say it again. Prior to these African Americans claiming this, you don't find this nowhere else. African Jews have no history of believing in the New Testament as Hebrew claimants. Gary Moore, that's irrelevant. You know what I'm talking about. Jews are Israelite. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Black Jews in Israel who claim they have been always there do not believe in the New Testament. I'm going to say that again. Black people. I'm going to say it again. Black people who are in Israel who have been there, they said the whole time, black people, they have never claimed the New Testament. All right. Now, if you claim to be a lost tribe, I'm going to say this again, and then you could come on and challenge me. Anybody from any camp, anywhere, a lost tribe would only know the Old Testament or parts of it. I'm going to say that again. The lost tribes from the Assyrian exile would only know the Old Testament or parts of it. Because remember, all right, 70 AD, exiles would not know a New Testament or prophecy, example, Luke 21 or 24, because Luke, Matthew, or John wasn't written yet. Let me say it again. The 70 AD exiles that you guys like to claim would not know a New Testament or prophecy. The example of Luke 21 verses 24 they like to use or misuse because Luke, Matthew, or John was not written yet or was there
a New Testament was not canonized, so these Jews fleeing into Africa and hiding would not know the New Testament. There was no New Testament. I'm going to say it again. No New Testament at the time. You could not have had a New Testament or know anything in the New Testament because it was written after 70 AD. Before the Assyrian exile, there was no organized canon was in place. So traditions, rules, and laws would not be known to remember the so-called lost tribes. Again, let me say that again. Before the Assyrian exile, no organized canon was in place. So traditions, rules, and laws would not be known to remember by the so-called lost tribes. So all those people claiming that they're lost and the 10 tribes came to here and they knew the laws, there was no canon. The Torah wasn't ready yet. And you can't say oral tradition because are you saying that they remembered 23,145 verses? And I got the ultimate dagger for y'all right now. Watch this. No canon, no laws, and commandments to follow. Look at this article. I'm going to bring this article as a witness to the stand. Let's take a look at this article. And I do have the book on my computer right now. I'm going to show y'all that I got the book. Watch this, family. Watch how Garfield break this down. And by the way, true story, and they said Top Cats have a book out. Isn't that amazing? There was no Torah at the time. Look at this book that came out 2022 by Jonathan Adler, one of the greatest modern day scholars in the game. Is Judaism a younger religion than previously thought? And you might say, well, I don't follow Judaism. Yes, you do. You're an offshoot of rabbinical Judaism. A new book by an Israeli archaeologist makes a stunning claim that common Jewish practices emerged only a century or so before Jesus. Why does it say that? Based on 15 years of study, textual and archaeological evidence in the West Bank concludes that the ordinary Judeans didn't consistently celebrate Passover, hold the Sabbath sacred, or practice other traditional forms of Jewish ritual until a century or so before the birth of Jesus. If his theory proves correct, then Judaism is at best Christianity's elder sibling and a younger cousin to the religions of ancient Greece and Rome. Uh-oh. Not the white man before this religion. Adler lays out his case in The Origins of Judaism, a new book published Tuesday by Yale University. He argues that the standard Jewish practices, from ritual bathing to avoiding representational images of humans and animals, didn't come into widespread use until around 100 BC. That date is some 900 years after the Israelites settled in Jerusalem, which became the center of a region later known as Judea. It's also several centuries after most scholars believe that Judean scribes in Jerusalem put together the books of the Hebrew Bible, a document long seen as the basis of Judaism. According to Adler, while some Judeans may have known about the religion's rules and prohibitions, this does not imply that anybody was necessarily putting them into practice. Oh, that's why we were putting it into slavery. That's why we were putting it into captivity. We wasn't following the laws. Yeah. I heard it all before. Adler examined artifacts from dozens of excavations in the Levant, as well as an ancient text, including the Bible, to determine how people behaved in the centuries before the Romans destroyed Jerusalem in 70 CE. He makes a good case that is certainly worth considering. All right, hold on. Let me come down a little bit more. Hold on 1 second. A strict taboo on graven images expressed in the Bible's second commandment also appears to be a late development. Coins made in Judea during the 4th century BC, when the province was part of the Persian Empire, and then after Alexander the Great conquered the region, often include both the names of Judean officials and images of bearded men, winged lions, and even foreign deities, suggesting they were widely used by Judeans despite the biblical prohibition. Nor was this prohibition strictly adhered to even in the shadow of the Temple Mount. The preeminent Judean sanctuary in Jerusalem's Acropolis. During a recent excavation just south of site, Israeli archaeologists uncovered a host of artifacts featuring likenesses, including an image of the Greek goddess Athena and a jug carved with the face of the Egyptian god Bes. Not the Egyptian god Bes. The latter was made from local clay and is therefore not an import. Jewish holy days. Remember, on the Sabbath, you can't do nothing, right? In the Elephantine papyri, they were able to do whatever they wanted on the Sabbath. When did they start saying you can't do nothing on the Sabbath? When did it come into effect? Biblical law also forbids preparing food, writing, and drawing water, among other activities on what is known as the Sabbath. We do not know how pervasive Sabbath observance was during early biblical times and when exactly the observance of the Sabbath took hold among the ancient Israelites. Adler says he found no evidence. Look at this. No evidence predating the 2nd century BC, which suggests that ordinary people regarded any kind of activities as prohibited on that day. Wow. 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 Woo! The same holds true for Passover, such a holiday such as Passover, which commemorates the ancient Israelites' escape from Egyptian servitude, as described in the Bible. Adler said there is little sign in non-biblical Judean foreign texts that this event was celebrated widely, if at all, among common people prior to the 2nd century BC. That clearly had changed dramatically by the time of Jesus, when Passover was described in the Christian Gospels and other contemporary texts as a well-established holiday that drew thousands of pilgrims to Jerusalem. Another major Jewish holiday is the Sabbath of Sabbaths, a sacred day of fasting and prayer that came to be known as the Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippur. According to the Christian Gospels, says Adler, the commemoration appears to have been universal among Judeans by the time of Jesus, but the archaeologists found no earlier text mentioning the widespread commemoration of this holiday. The same proof for Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot, which harks back to the sheltering of the Israelites in the desert after their escape from Egypt. Family, this is not a joke. Again, what about the dietary laws? They show the presence of scattered pigs and catfish bones during the eras of the Israelite kingdom and the Judean kingdom. Found many of the pigs being eaten and catfish. Maybe that's why maybe it's true y'all African Americans are Jews, because y'all love catfish. And catfish bones was found all over Israel. So there you go, brother. That's your connection. But I will say that this is a very damaging article, as far as, because again, show me what you believe that they were practicing in the past. Show it to me. You can't show me. Oh, Yara Stone said, oh, is a Smithsonian is Esau is your teacher. Okay, let's take a look, because Garfield has the book right here. Hold on, let me bring up the book right here. Let me bring up the book right here. Garfield got the book. I got the book right here on the screen. The Origins of Judaism. I don't play, family. I got all the sources. So you saying, let me do this now. So what about, let's look at this now. Let everybody pay attention. Get out your notepads. I'm telling you, I'm bringing some heat today. Watch this. What about the Persian Jews, the Assyrian Jews, and the Babylonian Jews? Now, look how Janelle gonna love Garfield now. Look how she gonna put a proposal in the chat. Say, I'm gonna marry Garfield after I say this. Watch Janelle's reaction to this right now. What about the Persian Jews, the Assyrian Jews, and the Babylonian Jews? Do you notice something about all those groups? That's where the Assyrian exiles went. Watch this, family. Watch Janelle put a proposal in the chat right now. She's gonna say, I'm gonna divorce my husband. I'm marrying Garfield after this show. Watch this. Watch this, family. Do you know that the Persian Jews kept their Hebraic language for over 2,500 years? Did you know the Babylonian Jews kept their language of Hebrew for over 2,500 years? Did you know the Assyrian Jews kept their language for over 2,500 years? The Persian Jews speak a language called the Zaide. It's a Judeo-Persian language. The Babylonian Jews spoke Judeo-Iraqi or Arabic. They spoke Judeo-Aramaic. You know the Assyrian Jews speak Judeo-Aramaic. Now watch the dagger. Where is Judeo-African American? Where is Judeo-African? You lost your language? How is it you've been traveling all these years in Babylon, Persia, and Assyria, where the Assyrians took you, and you still don't, and they kept their language for over 2,000 years? What about you, African American? Where's your Judeo-African American language? Where's your Judeo-African? Because it's not you. You don't lose your language. How? You see, look at Jamaicans. We speak patois. We have the dialect. You see the Twi in the language. Look at the Gullah Geechee. The Gullah Geechee still have words from Africa because that's who they are. Them can't cook. Look at Garfield. Them can't cook. That's from the Yoruba. It is still in our language. When did you or the Jews in the Americas lose their language? Why is it every Jewish culture in the world has kept their language except y'all? Where is it? Example, Jamaicans kept Akan, Igbo, Yoruba, etc. words in their dialect. Where is the Judeo-African language? I ain't get no proposal, Janelle. Damn, I ain't did that good. I ain't did that good yet. Yo, I'm going to show y'all something that y'all never seen before in your life. Look at this right here. Do y'all know one of the reasons why, here, this is conspiracy, by the way. One of the reasons why they invaded Iraq, because they found the Al-Yahuda tablets and Saddam Hussein held on to it. And he was holding on to information that they wanted to know about the Babylonian Jews. So this is why they invaded the second time. Now look at this right here. I want y'all to pay attention to this and pay attention completely. Pay attention completely to what Garfield is saying. I'm going to make y'all learn something today. I'm going to tell y'all why y'all ain't them peoples in a minute. I'm going to break it down. And this goes to the Yap Gang too. If Yap Gang is listening, this goes to y'all too. Y'all perpetrating a fraud because y'all believe in that text. Watch this. In May 6, 16 American soldiers from Mobile Exploitation Team Alpha, a group assigned to search for nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons, entered the flooded intelligence headquarters. They found all these records in 2003. 2003, y'all. Look at this. They got textbooks. They're writing in Hebrew. They got tons of records, 26 trunks of National Archives, which is in DC right now. So you say y'all the Israelites, y'all should be focusing on this. They started to identify the material. So they start going through all of it. Right here. They recovered over 2,700 Jewish books and tens of thousands of documents were recovered. The recovered books and documents date from the mid-15th century to the 1970s, from the 1500s. So these people were in Iraq from the time of Nebuchadnezzar. From the time of Nebuchadnezzar. Who are you? Who are you? You perpetrating a fraud. You're perpetrating a fraud. It's not you. Then you start to say the white man when all your information comes from the white man. Watch this, family. Watch this. Watch this. 2,700 books required. Look at this now. What does the text and the heritage says? Let's go to the sources. Iraqi Jews lived in a land that was physically and culturally linked to the central sacred text of Judaism. Babylon in ancient Mesopotamia is embedded in biblical lore according to Jewish tradition. The Garden of Eden and all that stuff, the Babylonian Talmud, all that stuff was written from the 6th to 11th century. They had academies of Surah and Pumbedita. All right, watch this. Watch this, family. In Jewish communities, and I'm going to throw a dagger. That's going to put a dagger in the heart right now. This is going to be the dagger of all daggers. That's going to hurt. Dagger of all daggers. They only like information that fits a paradigm that you believe. Bear in mind, Garfield does not care if you pray to the Most High and live by the laws. I am happy that black people are trying to live an upright life in a wicked world. So I support you, black man and woman, who claims to be an Israelite who's following it. But the fact is, you're Israelite by faith. You ain't no Israelite by descent. And I don't care what color they are. But anyway, let me get back to this real quickly. They have Jewish Torahs. They have Torahs. They have scripts, Bible with commentaries, 1,200 religious books. They got the Torah scrolls. They got the Babylonian Talmud. They got prayer books. They got religious guidelines. It's written in a Judeo-Arabic language because they are carrying the Hebraic language from back then. Iraqi Jewish life, constancy and change. The Jewish lunar calendar, they go about all the gains. They switch up the calendar and all that stuff so they could celebrate the Jewish lifestyle. Letters from British military, the prayer book. They got all these stuff. The Hanukkah book, the 8-day Hanukkah book, the Haggadah. Haggadah is not biblical. Hebrew calendars from way back from 1440. Personal and communal life. Look at this. Community letters. Official announcement. All these things are showing a continuation. Where is your continuation? Oh, you lost your language, your culture, you lost your heritage because of Jeremiah 17:4. You don't even know what the Hebrew says with that word that's in there. It's a total different word. They're talking about losing your land space, not no culture itself. These people were always there. And guess what? They went back to Israel after 1948. But you would call them fake because of their complexion and their skin complexion. Family, the works is there, the research is there. There's people proving this stuff. But let me stop sharing. Let's get out of here for a second. Now, let me get to another dagger real quickly. Let's get to the DNA. I want to bring up something about DNA real quickly with the Persian Jews and with all the Jews. Let's go to genetics right here. I'm going to share this on the screen so everybody could see this. This is deep. This is deep right now. I don't need to discredit Israelites. Watch this. This is from the Persian Jews article. Hold on, let me see what the brainiac Janelle says. Better question. What Hebrewisms do Africans in the diaspora maintain? Laugh out loud, since y'all don't think we have Africanisms. No. Tony, absolutely. No, that's not correct. They spoke the language for liturgical purposes. Okay, so that is not correct. They always spoke the language. Real Judah, I don't know what that is. Can you prove that anyone that came off the slave trade? Come on, my brother. Real Judah. You see, you worry about color. I'm not worried about color because an Egyptian could be any color. A Persian can be any color. A Babylonian Jew could be any color. All right, but watch this, family. Oh, God. So this lady want to control my show. I'm doing a whole presentation and she want to interrupt me. All right. Look at this genetic studies, and I'll give you the sources is in the article. Genetic studies show that the Persian and Iraqi Jews form a distinct cluster amongst the Jewish people. And the mtDNA of Persian Jews and Bukharan Jews descend from a small number of female ancestors. Another study, 7 groups of Jewish populations with different geographic origin, and showed that the individuals all shared a common Middle East background. This is very important. A common Middle Eastern background. Why is it African Americans don't show a common Middle Eastern background? Although they were also genetically distinguishable from each other, in public comments, the director of human genetics program at NYU and one of the authors of the study concluded, we have shown that Jewishness can be identified through genetic analysis. So the notion of a Jewish people is plausible. Now watch this though. An autosomal DNA study carried out in 2010 examined the Iranian, the Iraqi, the Syrian, the Turkish, the Greek, the Sephardic, and Ashkenazi Jewish communities. The study compared these Jewish groups with 1,043 unrelated individuals from 52 worldwide populations. To further examine the relationship between Jewish communities and European populations, 2,407 European subjects were assigned and divided into 10 groups based on geographic region of their origin. Remember, they say that the Ashkenazi Jew is European, right? The women and the males and all that stuff, and say that's the white man. This study confirmed previous findings of shared Middle Eastern origin of the above Jewish groups and found that the genetic connections between the Jewish populations became evident from the frequent identity by descent across these Jewish groups. Jewish populations shared more and longer segments with one another than with non-Jewish populations, highlighting the commonality of Jewish origin. Among peers of populations ordered by total sharing, 12 out of the top 20 were peers of Jewish populations, and none of the top 30 peered a Jewish population with a non-Jewish one. Atzmon concludes that each Jewish group demonstrated Middle Eastern ancestry and variable admixture from host population, while the split between Middle Eastern and European Syrian Jews, calculated by simulation and comparison of length distributions of IBD segments, occurred 100 to 150 generations ago, which was described as compatible with the historical divide that is reported to have occurred more than 2,500 years ago, as the Jewish community in Iraq and Iran were formed by Jews in the Babylonian and Persian Empire. So, ladies and gentlemen, the DNA is agreeing with the historical context of the Jewish records from those Persian Jews and from those Babylonian Jews. The main difference between the Mizrahi, and by the way, the Mizrahi Jews are Jews that remained in the land the whole time or lived in surrounding areas of Israel. The whole time they've been there. And Ashkenazi Sephardic Jews was the absence of Southern European components in the former. Now, this is important because Mizrahi Jews never left Israel. They've always been there. So they're the best people to test. But their DNA, compared to the Ashkenazi and Sephardic, what is absent is the Southern European components in the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic Jews. You don't find it in the Mizrahi.
In the Eastern European and the Ashkenazi.
According to these results, European Syrian Jewish populations, including the Ashkenazi Jewish community, were formed later as a result of the expulsion and migration of Jews from the land of Israel during Roman rule. It confirms the history. Concerning Ashkenazi Jews, this study found that genetic dates are incompatible with the theories that Ashkenazi Jews are the most part the direct lineal descendants of converted Khazars, which is a stupid and has been debunked. Evidence, the 13 tribes and all that garbage that y'all read. Evidence for founder females. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I would say the Khazar are actually related to like people like the Turks and the people of the Mongolian and all people of the steppes. They were Jewish, but they was Jewish that was their own related direction.
Hey, Yurab bin Yarub, we're going to address that right now, brother. We're going to address that right now in this same. And by the way, so Atman said that evidence for founder females of Middle Eastern origin has been observed in all Jewish populations based on non-overlapping mitochondrial haplotypes, which correlates times 2,000 years. The closest people related to Jewish groups were the Palestinians, the Bedouins, the Druze, the Greeks, and the Italians. Imagine that. They are closer to the actual Jews than African Americans. Wow. Regarding this relationship, the authors conclude that these observations are supported by the significant overlap of Y chromosome haplogroups between Israeli and Palestine and Arabs with Ashkenazi and non-Ashkenazi Jewish populations. Now, what he just said about the 3 to the 5% sub-Saharan African, this is very important. They detected 3 to 5% sub-Saharan African ancestry in all 8 of the diverse Jewish populations. Look at this, family. Ashkenazi Jews, Syrian Jews, the Iranian Persian Jews, the Babylonian Jews, the Greek Jews, Turkish Jews, Italian Jews that they analyzed. The timing of this African admixture among all Jewish populations was identical. Let me say this again. The timing of this African admixture among all Jewish populations was identical. The exact date was not determined, but it was estimated to have been placed between 1600 and 3400 years ago. This is very important. 1600 and 3400, so 14th century BC years ago. Although, what is 14th century BC? Isn't it supposed to be, y'all supposed to be in Egypt at the time? And aren't y'all, and then the history teach that, where we learn in history that actually the Canaanites are the Israelites, or Israelites are Canaanites. But the Canaanites were mixing with Egyptians from the 14th century BC. So years ago. So although African admixture was determined among some Southern European and Near Eastern populations too. This admixture was found to be younger compared to the Jewish population. These findings, the authors explained as evidence regarding common origin of these 8 main Jewish groups. It is intriguing that the Mizrahi, Irani, and Iraqi Jews, who are thought to descend at least in part from Jews who were exiled to Babylon about 2,600 years ago, share the signal of African admixture. Now, let me go back to the 1,600 years ago, 4th century AD. So it could be from the 14th century to so there's a 1,000-year period, because remember, the Nubians moved in. The Nubians were ruling from the 8th century to the 7th century, so there could have been admixture during that time period. And you're going to see at the end of the article what they say, and that's the Nubians admixing, which I think is the most likely scenario.
This just the Persian Jewish genetics?
No, this is all of these 8: the Ashkenazi, Syrian, the Iranian, Iraqi, Greek, Turkish.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, because you did
no,
have Jews.
Bro, for all of them to have the same amount at the same time, that means all these Jews are connected. Every one of them are all connected.
I got like 7%. I got like either 7 to 6% Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry, and it most likely comes through my Y haplogroup. I got a Y haplogroup G2A. You know what I'm saying? It kind of even like when I do the history, it most likely comes from my father's side.
All right, watch this. Let me read the end part so that people could read this and understand what's going on. Afro Cuz, what up, Afro Cuz? Watch this now. Watch this, family. So now they're going to explain what the what the experts are saying. A parsimonious explanation for these observations is that they reflect a history in which many of the Jewish groups descend from a common ancestral population, right? Which I just said, which was itself admixed with Africans. They're saying most likely ancient Egyptians prior to the beginning of the Jewish diaspora that occurred in 8th century to 6th century BC, the author concludes. So you see this time period, 8th century is the 700s, 6th century, the 8th century is the 700s, the 6th century is the 500s. But I'm saying at that time is when the Nubians were over them, when the Nubians were protecting them. That's why at Lachish, they found the 1500 skulls. They're connected to the pre-dynastic Egyptians, because the Nubians are connected to those people who are pre-dynastic Egyptians. So that's where I feel it comes from. But this is beautiful, because now my question is, I see the Yap gang talking all their stuff. How comes I've never seen them bring out this interpretation of this article? Because this makes them done away with the African American. This says that if they have 3.5%, 3 to 5% sub-Saharan, that means the sub-Saharans are not the Israelites. So those E1B1A is a sub-Saharan marker. So this tells you are not a Jew by being E1B1A. You're not a Jew. You're not an Israelite.
E1B1A in no Israel. Even the Cohen markers, they called the Cohen markers, which is one of them is J, and the other one is actually E3B, which is most commonly in East Africa anyway. You know what I'm saying? So they, even before that component that you mentioned, a lot of them had the E3B markers, that already was, probably from East Africans that came in through the Heliocene periods and all that. But it never was no E1B1A in no Israel ever. Unless I ain't gonna say ever. I say you probably have it a lot amount during like the Islamic slave trade and stuff like that. But it wasn't no Levant, no either of those areas in no ancient time periods at all.
All right, cool. Now watch this, family. Now the brother said, Garfield, you're ignoring scriptures. Come to Clubhouse, right? I'm on Clubhouse and I don't get challenged. I beat up people every day. So don't tell me that. I'm on Clubhouse every day. I'm on Brother Bereen every day. Now watch this, brother. Watch this. This is what kills the whole argument that the Native Americans, and to my Native American guy in the chat who is very racist against the Black Hebrew Israelites, I'm going to say that you are wrong too. You are totally wrong based on genetics alone. But I don't need genetics to beat up a Native American. All I need is records. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you believe Second Esdras and Arzareth, that Arzareth is America and that the Native Americans are Indians, are Jews, you got to read Benjamin Tadella, because he kills the whole argument. Remember I talked about the Persian Jews been there for 2,600 years or 2,800 years, and the Babylonian Jews and the Assyrian Jews. They all live in the same areas that the Assyrians put them to go live in. And they weren't captives or slaves. They were actually residents, because they were building up a society. Now watch this, family. Watch this. Watch how this kills the whole argument now. I'm closing out. Benjamin Tadella, right? This is a guy traveling around the world for 13 years. He's documenting where Jews are all over the world. Shout out to Divine Prospect. He used to use Benjamin Tadella a lot, right? He said the exiles are everywhere throughout his journey. He's documenting. He even go on the river Euphrates. He finds the synagogue of Ezekiel. And I'm going to kill y'all with the Ezekiel temple. Not saying Ezekiel is buried here. It's possible because I do believe Ezekiel is a real person. But watch this now. He said Judah was exiled at 722 by the Assyrians. So where all these people come from? Then he talk about the Babylonian exile, 701 BC is not mentioned. Then he said he goes to the places where the Bible talks about. The brother said, I'm not using the biblical text. Look at this right here, family. In the biblical text, it further in the east into the cities of the Medes, one of the sites mentioned in 2 Kings 17:6. So you have Gozan on the river Gozan, another reference in 2 Kings 17:6. He finds Israelites spread throughout several cities. And there he heard a rumor from farther east till there are men of Israel in the land of Persia. Whoa! So you have Persia, you have on the river Gozan, you have the Medes, you have the Babylonian Jews, but guess it gets further bad for you guys now. He said there's over 40,000 Jews and 10 yeshivas when he started talking about Iraq, the Iraqi Jews. In Baghdad, he finds 40,000 Jews, 10 academies, and 28 synagogues as he goes on towards the lands of the lost tribes as opposed to those of the exiled Judah. The numbers only increase. The description of the Jews, the description of Joseph, the letter of the President, and much else besides. According to Benjamin, there are hundreds of thousands of Jews in the city of Tema and 50,000 Kebar, learned men and great warriors, 30,000 Israelites near and a great city of Media, and 100,000 on the river Gozan. Family, if you don't know the biblical text, 100,000 Gozan is thousands in Medes. These are places where the tribes were literally sent. They were sent there. Let me say it again. They were sent there. This is not Garfield making this up. So how is it that the lost tribes went to Arzareth when they're still living in the same place they were sent? They were never lost. Because these Israelites are these identity thieves, are these African-American invented Israelites. These Israelites say that Arzareth, the people traveled in 2nd Esdras, which we know is a fake book. It's a pseudepigraphia. Ezra didn't write it. It was written in the 1st century AD. So we know it's not genuine. It's fake. But watch this though. Ladies and gentlemen, they have a tradition for over, I would say probably over 1,000 to 1,400 years of the Resh Golata, tracing them back to David and said this person is the chief of the diaspora. Look at 2 Kings 17:6. See? In the 9th year of Asher, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah, Habor by the river of Gozan in the city of the Medes. The same places that Benjamin Tadella went. He's telling you what he sees and what they're practicing. Gozan and Medes. What are you talking about? Garfield don't read the scriptures. It's right here in your scripture that you want to believe in. But it has to be you. It's not you though. It's not you. And this the reason why it's not you, and I'm going to go even deeper right now and prove another point. Because Garfield got sources for days. Days. Hold on a second. Before we do anything, let me bring this back to something that I never talked about in my debate with Gorilla Hebrew that I have here. I don't think people realize this is from this book called The Tribe of Ephraim, right? Does people know that Ephraim in the Hebrew? I know sister what you call it? Go and divorce her husband after this one right here. Look at this. The topographic name, the eponymous figure, the exact etymology of the name Ephraim is unknown. The biblical text provides a popular etymology based on Heb, Perah, be fertile. Although the ending Ayim, Periaim, suggests a topographic name, there is disagreement over further elaboration of the name's meaning. So, ladies and gentlemen, you find that in Hebrewism, in religion, history, and politics, the third culture, what happened is Ephraim, because of the ending, is telling you it's a toponymic. It's a toponymic name. That means it's connected to geography. It's not about a person. This example by no means an isolated instance. For example, as Martin Knopf noted long ago, the ancient Israelite tribes of Judah, Ephraim, Naphtali, and of course Benjamin are clearly constituted around a geographical referent, meaning that they are geographical names. They are not real people. Even though they are described in the Hebrew Bible as descendants from their respective eponymous ancestors, in fact, the evidence for territorial kinship is ubiquitous. As one observed throughout history, what we might categorize as a territorial contamination of the otherwise putatively pure blood. Ladies and gentlemen, Judah is not a person. You can't come from the tribe of Judah. Judah is the place.
Yeah.
Naphtali is a place. Ephraim is a place. Benjamin is a place. You can't come from what did not exist. Judah never existed as a person. This is why before the 8th century, there's no reference to Judah. In the Song of Deborah, you see that all the tribes that Deborah said helped her and didn't help her. There's no Judah in sight. There's no Simeon in sight. There's like 5 to 6 tribes that you don't see because that Judah tribe was not invented yet. The 12 tribes writing was created after the Babylonian exile. That's what y'all don't know.
After that, yeah.
So that kills your whole argument. Yo, we Judah. Judah where? Which part? Which part you coming from? You got tricked, bro. This ain't your religion. This is why you're not connected genetically to those peoples.
It's like the same like concept that they get from the Noah story. You know how you had like the sons and all them, they named after different places. Like the Ham, Sham, Japheth, and their grandsons, Canaan and Cush and all that.
Family, I'm just here to tell the truth. I'm just here to tell the truth. That's all I'm here for. That's all I'm here for. I'm just here for the truth. I'm just here for the truth. It's not you. You could still follow the religion and be a convert. That's nice. But to claim that you're a bloodline. Yeah, Gary Moore, very good point. The narrative never said they're lost. That was they hate the Jewish rabbis, the small hat people, but they got that from the small hat people and they ran with it.
Yeah.
We got to stop playing this game, family. The truth has to be told. So today when I go on what's his name? Today when I go on Marine, I'm going to do the same presentation. So people want to claim that people who came off the ships were Israelites. No, the genetics don't say that. They're not. So there's no sub-Saharan African genetic markers with the people who are genetically connected historically. If you go to Babylon, Persia, and Babylon, Persia, and Assyria, where the Jews went, their descendants were there. Some of them were taken back in 1948. The problem is they don't look like you. Right? But if we worried about looks, let me show y'all something real quick. Since y'all worried about looks, let me do this. Let me do this for the family real quick. Since y'all worried about looks, let's take a look at these images here. And I want y'all to look at an image that I have. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 images, right? And I'm going to show, where's my presentation at? Zion is dead. Let me show y'all a picture real quick. Show y'all a picture of some Jews.
Yeah, the only Jews, you know what I'm saying, that was somewhere in West Africa was like in Mali, Timbuktu region. And them dudes was like associated with Berbers. They look nothing like West Africans.
All right, let's look at some Jews, right? Because they're worried about color so much. Let's look at some of these Jews. All right. Who is this Jew right here? Is that a real Jew or is that a fake Jew? All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at these Jews right here, because these are Jews all over the world. I'm going to show something right now. These are Jews in Iraq, Iraqi Jews. They're dark skinned, they're kind of dark skinned, but they are
Jews writing out Torah and stuff, and they're right outside of what's called Ezekiel's tomb. Remember when Benjamin Tadella said he even went and saw Ezekiel's tomb? The Jews were there. Boom, here we are. They're still there today.
Yep, still there. Yep.
Now, this picture here, this is some Iranian Jews. And I want to show y'all something real quickly. This picture is very interesting. This is Iranian Jews. Would you accept these Jews? Persian Jews who are being persecuted in Iran, descending from Jews who were there from way before. I'm telling y'all right now, watch this now. These are Persian Jews. Judah was documented in the most widely utilized history book of the planet. All right, no problem. Watch this. Now look at this picture. You saw the Persian Jews? Now look at this picture right here. I'm going to show y'all how this correlates. Who are these Jews? Don't they look similar to them, bro? These are the Euro-African Jewish families, white father, mulatto mother, in Suriname, the Fernandez family. These are Portuguese Jews. They look like the Iranian Jews. This is a better picture right here. Look at that. Or do you connect to these people? Look at the black woman in the middle. Do you connect? But look at how they look at their features. You know, you wouldn't identify with these people, but these are Jews in Suriname. What you gonna do with that? They don't look nothing like you. They phenotype nothing. They look like the people in the Persian. They don't look nothing like you. Look at this. Yo, I got so much. Yo, come on, man. Come on. Stop playing games. Look at these Jews, the Negroid types. Oh, man. Y'all keep messing with Garfield, man. I'm going to hurt some feelings today. I'm going to hurt some feelings, man. And don't let me bring out the source with the rabbinical Jews being called black. Rabbinical Jews are the Jews black by Tudor Parfit. But let me get to what I wanted to show you guys, the Babylonian Jews. And I'm going to teach my brother something right now. My brother in the chat, he has a lot of talk. You see, they won't come on the stage. They won't come on the stage. And I'm going to show this same presentation when Orthodox More comes on today. And you're going to see a heated conversation today. Listen to me, family. I'm going to say this to everybody. I'm going to say this. If you believe you're a Jew by faith, that's on you. I could be a Jew by faith. Garfield can be a Jew by faith. I'm going to get connected to the synagogue up here in Westchester where I'm at. And I'm going to submit, and I'm going to take halakha, follow the halakha, and do what I'm supposed to do. And then I'll say I'm a Jew. I'm going to change my name to Garfield, Ben, Ezra, Levi, and I'm going to start practicing religion. What you going to do? Garfield, you ain't a true Jew? There's no such thing as a true Jew. Because technically speaking, nobody can be connected to the Israelites because Jacob is not a real person. He's an eponymous ancestor. Abraham, you can't find him in history. Isaac is an eponymous ancestor. Moses is an eponymous ancestor. All of these are characters made up in a storyline. Perseus from Persia. I'm going to deal with the eponymous ancestor in a second, but let me deal with this real quickly. This book is called Iraq's Last Jews. If you ask these guys, are these Jews real or are they fake? They're going to say the people with the small hat, they fake. And I'm going to say this to y'all carefully, and listen to me carefully right now. These people have a history that they could trace 2,000, 2,300 years, 2,600 years. But how do we know it's true? Janelle going to get excited again because Garfield dropping science. Do you know how these people are identified? Let's take a look. Iraq, as it is called today, look at this, family, was the home of the ancient civilizations of Sumer, Assyria, and Babylon. It was known by the Greeks as Mesopotamia. All right, so we get an idea. In the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar invaded the king of Judah and brought back its Jewish king, Jehoiakim, with 10,000 of his subjects to Babylon. 11 years later, after Nebuchadnezzar's destruction of the first temple, he brought 40,000 Jewish captives to his capital in Babylon.
90 kilometers south of modern-day Baghdad, the Jewish captivity ended when the Persian King Cyrus occupied whatever. All right. Now watch this right now. I want everybody who is watching in the audience to pay attention. Forget about your emotional Bible reading, I'm Judah. No, you're not. No, you're not. Over its 2,500 years of existence, the Iraqi Jewish community formed a homogeneous group and was able, listen to this now. Why is it that we can't find this in Africa? We can't find it in the Americas. We can't find none of this. But over 2,500 years of existence. And by the way, too, I have the book. If y'all want the book, email me, askbrothergarfield@gmail.com. I'll send it to you, the PDF. The Iraqi Jewish community formed a homogeneous group and was able to maintain communal identity, keyword, culture. So they were able to still keep their identity and culture and tradition throughout the centuries? How come you wasn't able to do that, Mr. 70 AD, 1 million went into West Africa? How comes? Oh, Jeremiah 17:4, right? All despite multiple conquests and political upheaval, war, and plagues. They were distinguished from their Iraqi brethren by their old Arabic dialect, Judeo-Arabic. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is key right here. They were distinguished from the regular people in Babylon because they spoke old Arabic dialect of Judeo-Arabic, which is replete with what? Biblical Hebrew. So they were speaking a form of biblical Hebrew because those biblical Hebrew words and dialect was within the Judeo-Arabic language that they spoke. Biblical references and words from Persian, Turkish, and Aramaic. Look at this now. Don't y'all claim that you're set apart? They were set apart by their dress, their observation of Shabbat, holy days, and kashrut, their unique cuisine, and among many other things, a deep yearning for their spiritual Jerusalem and Zion. Spiritual Jerusalem and Zion, not physical. They purchased land and established a yeshiva, which is like a school, university, religious houses of work study in Jerusalem and Hebron. Their social and religious life was based upon Talmudic and biblical rites, and they led an independent communal life headed by the chief rabbi who oversaw the community's education system, religious court, and tax imposed upon kosher meat. Where is that in Africa? Where is that culture? Tell me, let me know. But this is a quote from Brother Garfield's book, Misconceptions and Misinformation by the Black Hebrew Israelites. When Nebuchadnezzar took them into town, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, they found during Saddam Hussein's time? They found a book. They found 200 tablets called the Al Yahuda tablets. What did I just say? They found a book, a writings, manuscripts called the Al Yahuda tablets called Judah Town. The tablets reveal life of the exiles in Babylon. Now you're talking about from 577 to 477 BC. It's like 100-year span of different tablets, manuscripts, over 200. What does it teach, sir? What does it teach? Again, you could join me on the panel. You could join me on the panel and we could get it in. You could join me on the panel and let's get it in. All right. I'm trying to read some of the comments, trying to catch up. Grifters and griots, all pseudo. You see, real Judah won't come on the panel and have a conversation. He wants to shout in the chat. You see, like I could be a gangster on the internet, but when I run into some of you guys, y'all probably kick my butt. I could be the gangster, the guy behind the computer, gangster all day. Just like in the chat, all these guys. I'm like I'm the toughest guy in the world behind the computer, but in person, I'll probably get my ass kicked. And it's the same thing when y'all typing. But let's look at it some more. What's up, Tori? It teaches us that we weren't slaves like we were slaves to the Pharaoh. It teaches us that we were simply free people in Babylon, living not only in Al Yahudu, but also in a dozen other cities where Jews either lived or did their business. Oh man. Oh man. What's up, Rodney? Peace and love to you, bro. Now look at this, family. The Al Yahuda tablets dated to the 6th and 5th centuries. And by the way, this is by the Jews. This is, you say you're Judah, right? So this is Judah writing this. The Al Yahuda tablets dated to the 6th and 5th centuries BC are a collection of about 200 clay tablets on the exiled Judeans living in Babylon. The tablets are named after the central settlement mentioned in the documents Al Yahuda. The new documents provided us for the first time with insights into the social, I'm going to say it again, into the social and economic life of Judeans in their own Babylonian community, and they're into in their own Babylonian community. Now these are the names of the places listed on the tablets. It looks like Garfield is from Judah because they got a place called Kingstown. But names of the places listed on the tablets: Judah town, town of Tobiama, Adibilu, Kes, Nassar, town of Amuru, Usar, Bit Naunusu, Bit Yukik, Babylon, Kingston of the New Balfi, Bit Hama, Hamat. All these towns you find Semitic speakers, Jewish people. The Al Yahuda tablets relates to the activities of those who remained in Babylonia, tilled the land and built houses. By virtue of their status as settlers on royal land, they were explicitly protected from being turned into chattel slaves. The term Susano designate proprietorships of bowlands who held grants of income-producing property. So, ladies and gentlemen, Nebuchadnezzar gave them income-producing property. You show me a mother effer that came over a slave ship that got income-producing property. Let's go. Whether Nebuchadnezzar forced or encouraged Judeans to come with him to live in Babylon to help in expanding his kingdom is not clear. What is clear, though, the Judeans were not slaves. They weren't in captivity, family. So when they teach, oh, he was in captivity in Babylon. No, you lied, because the Jews actually wrote what was going on. They weren't slaves. The tablets describe details such as trade, transactions, home sales, addresses, inheritances, and other various agreements are etched on these stone tablets. And each tablet is also inscribed with the transaction date. Dating the tablets were easy. Each tablet had a day, month, and year of ruling king. The earliest date was 572. I said 577 earlier. My apologies. I'm off by 5 years. Earliest date was 572 BC. And the latest date was 477 BC. Within the 200 tablets, we have two examples of folks talking about returning to Judah, Sidor and Yaeli. Judeans seem to be comfortable, even in some cases own slaves themselves. Judeans were royal merchants. We see this with members of the Ari family, most of whom bear distinctly Babylonian names. More Jews lived outside of Palestine during the Second Temple period than within Palestine. There was no mass Roman exodus of Jews from Palestine. As a result of the Romans, there was a loss of political sovereignty. Now watch this, family. 5 million Jews lived outside of Palestine, about 4/5 of them within the Roman Empire, but they looked to Palestine as the center of their religious and cultural life. Diaspora Jews thus far outnumbered the Jews in Palestine even before the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. The source, Encyclopedia Britannica. But it gets even deeper. What happened to those Jews in Babylon? Just to show a continuity, I actually have the physical book, which is right, where is it at? I think it's right here beside me. Is it right here? It should be here. Just to show you Garfield ain't no joke. Let's stop the screen for a second. Let me show my camera. See, I got the book, the physical book. Like 600 pages, the physical book. All right. So y'all know I ain't lying. All right. Now, let's get back to this right now. Let's get back here. So now, this book, it talks about this, the Jews of Babylon, right? And it talks about what's going on. Now, did you know that these Jews in Babylon were bankers? Does that sound familiar with the Jews of today that are connected? Not saying I'm trying to pull a Rothschild conspiracy and all that stuff, but isn't it familiar? If you go to Deuteronomy 28:12, it talks about them lending money because of how blessed they were. Now watch this, Janelle. How is it for 2,500 years they're in quote-unquote captivity, and they never got any blessings. They never got any blessings. So nobody who followed Torah and the laws get blessings. Where is the blessings? Oh, black people killing each other. We curse because we Israel. No, you curse because of the people taking the so-called made-up curse of Ham and treat black and brown people bad because they think that you curse black. That's why you're mistreated. And you'll always be mistreated because of that misinterpretation of the curse of Canaan. So get it right. Now look at this now. Jews of Babylon from this book. Let me continue to teach. One source, however, allows us to extrapolate the growth of the Jews, namely the Marasha Archive. It's called the Marasha Archive. The archive consists of more than 800 cuneiform tablets, family, or fragments that preserve financial records of what may be called an ancient banking firm of the Marasha family. The records date from 454, because remember the last one went up to 477, from 572 to 477. So now we have records from 454 to 404 BC. Hence the reigns of Artaxerxes and Darius II, and deal with members of the royal family, small landowners, and numerous lesser individuals. Among the lesser individuals are many personal names that appear to be of Jewish extraction, about 80 individuals, such as Haggai and Shabbatai. From the details of their transaction, we learned that Jews lived in about 30 villages around the ancient Babylonian city of Nippur. But notice, we found 13 different communities. Now they have over 30 villages. So they're expanding. Some served as soldiers and minor customs officials, while others were farmers, merchants, or slaves. They gave their children Babylonian names, but these offspring in turn revert to naming their children with Jewish names in the third generation. The Jews blended into the acculturation of the empire along with many other minorities, yet retained at least one hallmark of their religion: Sabbath observance. According to the records, they rarely conducted business on the Sabbath, but they are otherwise undistinguished from the rest of the population. It is against this background of striving for religious identity amid cultural assimilation that the stories of Daniel and his friend became the model of keeping dietary laws and praying 3 times a day. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we have these people who are bankers, who are lending people money, who are continuing their activity and being in the Babylonian kingdom. When you look at the Talmudic academies, you see Neharda is one of them. Then you see Pombedeta. Then you see Surah. So when Benjamin Tudela went there, these communities were being formed from like the 200s in the 3rd century. And then you have different rabbinical eras. The Zugat era is very important because you had 2 priests that were supervising over, this is during like the Maccabean period, who are supervising, who are teaching the Torah. The Pharisees, who were a social group, and this is from Encyclopedia Britannica, by the way, this is the source for this. The Pharisees were a social movement and school of thought in the Levant during the time of the Second Temple period, Judaism. After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, Pharisaic beliefs became the foundational liturgical and ritualistic basis for rabbinic Judaism. So when you condemn rabbinical Judaism, you're actually condemning the Pharisees, who actually where it stems from. All right, just to let y'all know that. The Pharisees did their thing. They built synagogues and all that stuff in the community and all that stuff. All right, following the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans by the 70s. Hold on, let me see if there's any questions in the chat by now. Is there anybody ready to challenge Garfield? Come on the panel. Judah man, what's up? Judah man, jump on, Judah man. If you got a problem, I'll give you the 2 minutes. I'll let you talk. I don't do like what y'all do. I don't do like what y'all do. Jump on and let's have a conversation. The Bible don't match up with what the actual Judeans wrote. And that's huge. Now, everybody thinks they know the Bible, but when they meet Garfield, it's a different situation. I want the smoke. Jump on. The link is at the top. All right. Well, Harry Morgan, you ain't got to watch the channel then. Following the destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in 70 CE, waves of exiled Jews traveled west and were assimilated among other tribes and nations. The Babylonian Jews and those who migrated east from Eretz Israel became the keepers of the Bible. Jewish culture flourished in Babylonia during the Persian regime, 331 to 638. Jewish scholars compiled the Babylonian Talmud starting in 474 as the spiritual codex of Judaism. transforming Judaism into a spiritual and moral movement. Starting in the year 219, the academies of Sura and Neherdia were founded in Babylon. The heads of these academies were referred to later on as Gaians and were considered the highest authorities on religious matters in the Jewish world. In 570, Muhammad was born in Mecca, and later on he migrated 600 to Medina, where Jews were active in commerce and industry. All right, the Jews were still practicing their culture. The Jews settled there, built new yeshivas, and attained important status, especially the Jewish exilarch, who was widely recognized as the descendant of King David and was the faith's highest authority. The exilarch administered Jewish affairs for the community, deciding disputes and collecting taxes, and could impose bans, fine, imprisonment, or flogging for punishment on religious matters. All right, let me see. All right, I don't need to read that. Deuteronomy 28:68. This is their favorite. This is what I was talking about. Deuteronomy 28. The Lord shall open up thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. Which nations were Jews, African Americans, and Africans lending to? I'm curious. Because we had Jews in Northwest Africa, in Taut, who were considered the Rothschilds of their day, who were lending nations money. But it's not you. It's not you. There's Jews in Algeria, family, who had synagogues. It's not you. Look at that. Not you. Those were the folks that's making money, traders, merchants. Not you sleeping with African women in Timbuktu, in Niger area, in Senegal, Senegal and Gambia, those regions. Thou shalt lend unto many nations. Who is African Americans lending money to? And this is a blessing. So you're not getting blessed at all. Oh, man. So all you do is sit down and quote Deuteronomy 28:68. And look at this, family. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates. What are your gates? Thy is yours, possessive. This is in Israel. Until thy high-end fence walls come down. Where's the high-end fence walls in America? Wherein thou troddest throughout all thy land. What is thy land? Israel. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates again throughout all thy land in Israel, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Come on. Why y'all skip this? And 51 talk about, and he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land. Again, in thy land. Why is it's always in thy land? The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Oh, America is the eagle. Okay, so was Rome. So was Assyria. So was Persia. Why they don't tell you all that? That's the sign of Persia, eagle. And you know the Egyptomaniacs say, oh, they stole that from the Heru bird. They stole that. The Egyptomaniacs would say that. The Assyrians had a sign of an eagle. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. They didn't understand the Persians, the Assyrians when they went over there. Because they didn't speak Assyrian. But it has to be here in America. It has to be. Oh, man. And moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. When did that happen? And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoice over you, and and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now ask yourself, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt not see it again no more. So of course, Deuteronomy 17:16 says that you should not go into Egypt again. But what about in Exodus, where it tells you that the Lord said you shall not go into Egypt again? So that's what he's talking about. Physical Egypt, not no bondage. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Yes, you were brought into Egypt again with ships, because it's in the Assyrian records. Ashurnapal records have the king Manasseh of Judah going into Egypt on ships. There's also records of them taking people from the shores of Dor in Israel, leading the army and having them go on ships with the Assyrians, going into Egypt on ships. That's documented. So bang, your Deuteronomy 28 is out the door, but let me kill you with your own scripture. He said, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ship, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. What is it that you shall not see no more again with Egypt? Go to Exodus and go to Deuteronomy 17:16. You shall not see it again. This is what Moses, the supposed writer Moses, is saying. But he's talking about Egypt from before Deuteronomy is written. So where is it in the Bible that Deuteronomy, within Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, that there's something about not seeing it anymore again? In Exodus, it clearly says it. So that's what he's talking about, going into physical Egypt. And how do I know it's not bondage? The next words, and there is referring to a place. It's not bondage. Bondage is not a place. And the place where you're going to go, there, which is Egypt, ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Show me somebody in America who's descendants of a slave that they weren't sold. Oh, they're just saying that you can't redeem. They go to Deuteronomy 27 or 30 and mix it up, and Leviticus 26 and say this is what they mean. Nope. You're making it up. I just prove it's physical Egypt with there. If you don't know, it's not T-H-I-R. It's not T-H-E-I-R. It's T-H-E-R-E. You use there when you're referring to an actual place. That's not bondage. You are dead. Not bondage. Something else I want to talk about real quickly so I could get into this. And what they don't talk about, and this is in my book in a chapter about the lost tribes of Judah. Now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against all the fenced cities of Judah and took them. Over 46 cities he took them. And Sennacherib in his record said he took 200,000 Judeans. When did those Judeans come back to Israel? They never came back. This is why there's so many communities, ladies and gentlemen. There's so many communities. All right. So anyway, if anybody want to jump on, I got more for you. I got more daggers. But let's go. I'm here. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I am ready. So if y'all ain't ready, all right, let me continue to play this video right here. Nobody wants to take on Garfield. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. And I make y'all talk. When y'all come on, I make y'all talk. Well, we are descendants. African Americans are descendants of slaves because descendants of Africans. That's who we are. But you believe in a biblical worldview. Gideon funny. If you believe in a biblical worldview, you won't see that. You see Africans as Hamites, and that's a problem. Well, it depends. We are mixed up. We don't necessarily. I have Igbos. I have Igbo, and I have the Ashanti people in me. But it is what it is. But I'm ready though. If anybody wants to come on and challenge me, Idaland Ben Yahawada, and you're from One West because you say Yahawada. You know what I'm saying? Is this the proposal? If it ain't a proposal, I don't want to hear it. What's up, Janelle?
Hola, can you hear me?
What's up? What's up, sis?
Can I be heard?
Of course. Go ahead, sis.
Okay, bet. All right, I just wanted to be sure. So peace to you and everyone. I had to come on when you did the Deuteronomy thing because I think it's so hilarious to me how people love using that. And it's a foundational scripture that a lot of Hebrew Israelites use. And, even in the Hebrew, even in the English, you can see that it doesn't talk about African Americans being sold or just Africans being sold into the Americas at all. Simply with the last verse, you will sell yourselves there and no man will buy you. No man will buy you. And last I checked, they have ledgers for all of the Africans that were sold. So I don't really understand how we utilize that verse to say, well, Africans went into enslavement and that's how we're Hebrews because of this verse, but it's not talking about the transatlantic slave trade at all. I see somebody in the chat saying buy your freedom. It was no, the Hebrew word there, you can't say that that means redeem or anything like that. The Hebrew word is literally means to purchase, to gain. So there is no redeeming. You don't redeem a TV when you go to Best Buy unless you have a coupon or something that allows you to do that. You buy a TV, you purchase a TV, literally. That's all I wanted to say on that.
All right, cool. And Janelle could go into the Hebrew too. She's definitely bad with the Hebrew. Don't play with her.
Oh, well, I mean, Garfield, I think you might have been introduced to me a while back because of the dispelling Hebrew doctrines I did with Mitz and a few brothers that came on.
Mm-hmm.
We were breaking down all of those foundational, I'll call it the legs of the Hebrew doctrine because, just for instance, the devil, you were talking about how like the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Jews don't believe in the New Testament, but they also don't believe in the devil either. There is no devil character in the Old Testament. And so, a lot of the Hebrew Christians or Hebrew Israelites, they often don't realize that they're Christians because they believe in things that weren't even in the Old Testament at all. But that requires learning the language. And when you learn the language, you can read for yourself. You really don't need anybody to teach you. And then everything that you're doing is just on top of it. And I have to say, I may not have proposed because I'm taken. However, you was throwing them daggers today. I got to give you that one.
That's what I said. I said, you're going to put that divorce paper in.
No, I mean, you was hitting it. I was like, oh my God, how are they breathing right now?
Oh, man. Hey, look at the screen, sis. I do have the scripture up. And I think what you are referring to is this word right here, vehet makartem. And what people don't understand is it says it means you will offer yourselves for sale. You can't get around that. You can't get around that. You can't get around that. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, it's a reflex, it's an intensive reflexive, meaning you do it to yourself, you punched yourself. And so it comes from the ipa'al, which is the one of the binyan underneath, basically when you change or conjugate verbs. And this is this is in Hebrew, is what allows people to understand who you're talking to, how many you're talking to, and the tense, and so because they don't know Hebrew, they don't know that there's no way you can say, oh, well, the Africans sold us. And it says, no, like you sold yourself, literally sold yourself. You basically tried to give yourself away. You tried to, do all these things, but nobody took it. Nobody bought you. Nobody was, nobody came on at all. And so it's just quite interesting how a lot of the mystery that we like to add in the English translation is just not there in the Hebrew, in the biblical Hebrew text, because it's so concrete and definitive.
Yep. Hey, Rodney, what up, King? What's up?
What's up? Hey, peace and love, brother Garfield. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Go ahead.
Hey, peace and love, brother. No, I just came here to say, that was a well, breakdown, well, articulated, great resources that you have provided. The overview of all this, it seems like when it comes with the Israelites using Deuteronomy 28, you can tell it's based off emotionalism.
Rodney, we lost you. Your signal is bad, beloved.
While he's getting back on, I think it's.
Can you hear me now?
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
you're good. You're good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry about that. It might have been my headphones. So what I was saying about Garfield was that it appears that when we talk to Israelites and they use Deuteronomy 28, it seems like it's based off of emotionalism rather than rationality. And what I mean by that is whenever I come across Israelites and
Yes, you're gone again, bro. I don't know where you at. I don't know if you're moving around.
It's the devil trying to stop the But it's funny because when I was in the Hebrew thing, I wasn't in the camp, but I was around a few different congregations, including the one that Divine Prospect was at as well. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how the Hebrew words are thrown around often, shalom, ak, and al-koti, and all these things. And they'll say that with pride, and boker tov, and all these things. They'll say that with pride. But when you actually start to get into the language, that all of a sudden it's just spirit and they shy away. And it's just like, wait a minute, I was just in a congregation where like y'all are literally trying to break this word down in the Hebrew and doing all this extra stuff. Now you want to tell me that the language doesn't mean anything? It's really sad, honestly.
Brother Garfield, can you hear me now, brother?
Yeah, I could hear you. I could hear you.
All right, sorry about that. It might have been my Wi-Fi. No, what I was saying, Brother Garfield, again, was that it seems like when we talk to Israelites, it's more based off of emotionalism rather than rationality. What I mean by that is when I come across Israelites,
You're gone again, bro.
Deuteronomy 20 and 54. Again?
Yeah, you good now. You're good.
Yeah, I think it's his good connection on my end. I'm not sure what's going on, but so in Deuteronomy 28. They use this passage to say, look at how our people are treating each other in the neighborhoods, how we don't love each other, how this and this and that. That's the emotionalism response. The rational response is when you look at the context.
Hey, somebody texted me that the spirit hate Rodney, man. Oh man.
Oh man, hey man, I'm doing something right.
Go ahead. Stop texting my phone. Oh man. But yeah, it's a staple for I'll say this though. It's obviously has to do with a place called Egypt. Now people say Egypt is America or Egypt means bondage, but it's actually saying there. So once you see the word there, it's actually talking about a location. So that's what actually kills the whole argument about it. As far as the word, what is it called? Vihit Makartin. That word itself is saying that you're selling yourselves. And I remember Gorilla Hebrew had brought up Leviticus, what is it? Leviticus 26, I think, where he talks about redeeming yourself. That's what it means. But no, it's not connected to that. And that's on the basis from a spiritual perspective and saying that is you belong to the scriptures. Nah, that's a belief, but no, it don't make sense.
But Brother Garfield, you know what's interesting about Deuteronomy 28 and 68 is when you read the verses above. Right. So
you chipped out again. What's going on with your phone today, man? Are you on the Israelite plan, man? You got to get on.
Man, I got connection. I can see good connection here. Can you hear me now, Garfield?
Yeah, you're good. You're good now.
Yeah. So when you look at verse 63.
Yo, the Mossad don't want to hear Rodney, yo. I ain't going front, Rodney.
Hey, man, I got to fix my connection. Give me 1 second.
All right, cool. Go ahead, Sister Janelle. You wanted to finish up, sis? And please don't disrespect the sister in the chat, man. Come on, man. None of that. Not that she cares anyway, but I'm just saying, chill out. None of that in the chat.
Well, yeah, that's ridiculous. It just it's too many emotions in the chat. They really just need to learn how to read. But I just wanted to say that it's so important that we ask ourselves, why don't we choose to actually learn the language when we're talking about this book? Because I'm really big on the language, mostly because that was what gave me the perspective to be able to question my own self, to see, okay, am I really reading what I'm being told? And what most people, they're just mind map. They're really not even reading. Some of it is in English. You don't even need the Hebrew for it, but they're not even choosing to learn. If I found out that I'm this culture, I'm these people, I'm going to purpose to do my best to involve myself in that. And they don't do that, but they want to wear the Power Ranger suits and the garbs and all these things. And you know, stand outside in purple like they're in an army, but neither one of them can actually read. And I just think it's quite ridiculous. That's all I want to
Hey,
say.
look at the screen, sis. If you look at the King James, right, this is the problem. In the King James, it says, "And there you shall be sold unto your enemies." But that's not what the Hebrew is saying. And I think whoever
Right.
translated it is the problem. Because if you look at other versions, you say, "You shall offer yourselves for sale." That's pretty much what the Hebrew is saying. If you look at the New International Version, "There you will offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female sale, but no one will buy you." And I think that with the King James Version is the problem. So they have the King James Version as the best version, but when you're going to the Hebrew, going to the Strong, well, the Strong's is not 100%. You know, you got to be able to maneuver around it. But at least it's a startup to get you where you need to be. And even on this page, if you look at the words again, it says, "You will sell." Wahet makartem is the word. That word right there, "you will sell." And it goes on to say, "yourselves to your enemies as male." So this right here, you can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't get around it. You
Also,
can't
too,
get around that.
people should understand that in biblical Hebrew, the tense, the number, and the gender all come with the verb. So there's no need for us. Like, people don't even realize, they talk about prophecies, but majority of the book is in the past. First, you know, it's past tense, first of all. So, and we know that just from the grammatical structure as well. So, you know, when people talk about like it's prophecy or, you know, all these things, and oh no, it doesn't say you shall or whatever. It's right there in the word. Literally tells you what tense, the number, meaning, you know, singular or plural, and the gender, masculine or feminine. It literally answers all of those questions just by knowing the grammar.
All righty. My brother Rodney gonna come on in a minute, and I'm telling you, this is the problem with Deuteronomy 68, family. It says, "You will sell yourself to your enemies." That's what it's saying. And what they do is they take it as it has something to do with Leviticus 26 and that you will be redeemed. No, you are adding to it. You got to understand it's in a masculine plural construct, second person masculine, and you got to understand all of that, the grammar. Once you understand the grammar, you'll see where it's going. But again, everybody don't agree with Garfield. But again, it goes back to the Deuteronomy 28. And let me scroll back up, and you will see. It's you look at the New International Version, there you will offer yourselves for sale. You will offer yourselves. That has nothing to do with the transatlantic slave trade. But you could read the King James and say, "Thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold." Once this right here is what the problem is. Once you remove that and put the proper translation, then you will see what it is. But you could go to Bible Hub anyway, and you look at when they're talking about it, it says, "Thou shalt not see it no more again." They refer to Deuteronomy 17. I would more refer to Exodus 2. And it talks about when Moses said they won't see Egypt again. I would more use the Exodus more than Deuteronomy 17. But again, if it's Moses writing as it's supposed by some, then he's definitely referring to the Egypt because it's something that's written before. All right. And by the way, too, the Egypt is used as bondage in like a few instances. But again, I'm going to say this to y'all. It ain't got nothing to do with America or the slave trade, transatlantic slave trade. That is way off. Absolutely way off. But again, that's their stuff. That's their stuff, man. That's their go-to. Yo, you got to believe this. That's their go-to, man. And that's why King James has to be black, because King James, Nehemiah, you think Nehemiah 5:6-8 makes more sense? Hold on, let me look at that right here. Nehemiah 5:6-8. Hold on, let me look at it. Nehemiah 5:6-8. And I said unto them, "We after our ability have redeemed our brethren, the Jews, which were sold unto the heathen. And ye shall even sell your brethren, or shall they be sold unto us?" Then held there. Oh, yes. I see where you're going, brother. I see where you're going. Ah, man. Ah, man. Precept upon precept, huh? Oh, man, I tell you. But they weren't sold, though. So how does that make sense if they weren't sold? Well, that's another stuff. I ain't going deep into that. I hope y'all, when I go on Brother Barine, I'm definitely going to do pretty much the same thing that I'm doing today. And it should be. What's up, sis? You wanted to add something?
No, my phone was just messing up. But I gotta get off now. I'm renovating a property. I gotta attend to it, but I'll be listening in the chat. I just want to say, Garfield, you're doing a great thing. I really enjoy your approach teaching people, because that really is what is needed. And honestly, that's why we're in such a mess that we're in, is because people, jump right out of prison and try to teach people, you know what I mean, rather than actually having work behind them and helping people. They're just trying to make people do what they want them to do. And I really just appreciate how your approach to things. So big up to you, and I'll be in the chat.
All right, no problem, no problem. Yeah, man. So this is why, let me tell you something. There's a brother by the name of Dante Fortson, and I'm gonna say I commend Dante Fortson for adjusting. He's definitely one of the propagandists, but he's willing to adjust because he's taking stuff off his website based on information that come either through me or indirectly through me. So and I have a question for the Yap Gang. Is sub-Saharan DNA with the Jews? Because it's said that it comes from before the 8th century BC. So I want to know why the Yap Gang is trying to push this E1B1A and E1B1B is one Shem or whatever they're pushing about Abraham and the DNA. It's just ridiculous at this point. But again, if you're researching, this is why with Egyptians, right? I always say this about I love Smash when it comes to Egypt and reading the Meganetta. But when it comes to certain arguments, I'm like, nah, you biased because you're coming from an Egyptian perspective. If a Bible believer is giving you research, you have to ask yourself, which angle are you coming from? Because you're naturally biased because this is your belief. You're naturally biased. And again, I don't have a problem with anybody serving the Most High, believing the Most High. But once you start saying you are these people and bringing history and archaeology and anthropology and linguistics and genetics, then you're going outside of your belief. That's my playground now. Now you're coming in my playground, and we're gonna deal with it properly. What's up, Rodney? Peace and love to Rodney, man. All gone.
Hey, peace and love, Garfield. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Much better now.
You sound like a true Black Hebrew Israelite. you have the right complexion. You are saved. I could tell by the color of your skin. You are saved. But go ahead, brother.
Hey man, peace and love to the whole channel, man. Yeah, so I was just saying, Brother Garfield, it seems like when we talk to some of our Israelite brothers, not all of them, but some of them, and I'm not in a position to tell them that they're not Israelites. I just believe that the evidence that they use, a lot of it is not sufficient, contradictory, or is based off of emotionalism. What I mean by that is the passage that they a lot of them like to go to is in Deuteronomy 20 and 54, where the evil eye towards her brother, and their emotional response would be, "Oh, look how our brothers and sisters are treating each other in the neighborhood. That's the curses. That means that you're an Israelite, so on and so forth." That's an emotional response. But the rational response is getting the context when you look at verse 52, where it says, "And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God has given thee." That's talking about the land of Canaan, because that's the land that God gave them. And it says, "And thou shalt eat the fruit of thy own body, the flesh of thy sons and thy daughters, which the Lord thy God has given thee, in the siege and the straitness wherein thy enemies shall distress thee." Again, that's still in the land of Canaan. "So that he will not give any of them of the children of the flesh." No, sorry, 54. "So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave." Watch this, Garfield. "So that he will not give any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherein thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates." That's the rational response. The context is Literally, they're getting siege and it's talking about cannibalism. That's the rational response.
Mhm.
So this is an example of what I mean by Garfield when they compartmentalize text and they use an emotional response, and people catch on to that and realize that's not what it was talking about. The context is cannibalism. Then you start questioning other things that you may have been taught. And I say that to everybody that are under the Israelite persuasion. You know what I'm saying, Brother Garfield?
Oh man, but you know what? I think you're an Israelite, brother, because you've been blessed. The blessings is following you all the way to America, and no one can touch you. So you're blessed. You know what I'm saying? Why is it for 2,500 years though? People are running around claiming to be Israelites and they get no blessings. Where's the blessings? Where's the language? Because how did they lose their language? How did they lose their tongue? Like, how did they lose that? Everybody else, the Persians have Judeo-Arabic. The Babylonians have Judeo-Aramaic. The Assyrian Jews speak Judean Arabic. So they are all mixed with some Hebraic stuff that they're continuing for over 2,000 years. So why is it the Israelites can't do that? Why is it we can't see that within them?
Right, and that's what gets interesting too, because even like a lot of the Israelites, they didn't speak the same language, I think, or even dialect. When you look at Judges 12:6, I believe, or say Sibboleth instead of say Shibboleth. I think that was talking about the Gideonites and the tribe of Manasseh. But like again, Garfield, I think it's just willingly to um, assimilate with other cultures. When you look at the Babylonians, like you were saying, a lot of the Israelites who went to Babylon were actually very rich there. They owned a lot of land. They were in high parts of government. When you read, I think, in 2 Kings 24, Nebuchadnezzar took all the rich people, the people that knew labor and all that. He took them, and they built up the land, and they were doing so well, where some of the Israelites chose to not come back. That's the same. That was the same case during the Persian rule, same case during the Hellenistic period, and the same case with the Roman rule. And they just chose to never come back. But at the end, if people who claim to be Israelites, they would still have some type of retaining of their language, but we don't see that reflected on our people today. But Garfield, they'll use Jeremiah 17:4, where it says, "Thou shalt discontinue from thy heritage," but that doesn't
Hey,
make.
hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. I gotta deal with that scripture right here because Yoshi broke that down. I didn't realize your heritage was a whole different meaning in the Hebrew. And Jeremiah, what is it again? Jeremiah
17:4. I think it's talking about the land or something like that.
Yeah, it's about the land. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your breakdown. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in Jeremiah 17:4, was interesting, Brother Garfield. Again, this is the emotional response some Israelites will take. I'm not saying all of them. I know like brothers like Corey, shout out to my brother Corey at God First Gang. He's a rational person. So I want to say brothers like him. But there are people who take the emotional response when I read Jeremiah 17:4, where it says, "And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever." You're going to use this to say that we're going to forget that we're Israelites. But when we take a look at Lamentations chapter 2 and verse 6, I'm going to read this real quick, Garfield. And it says that he has violently taken away his tabernacle as if it were of a garden. He destroyed his places of the assembly. The Lord has caused the solemn feasts and Sabbath to be forgotten in Zion and despised the indignation of his anger, the king and the priest. So he made them forget the Sabbath days and the feast days and the new moons and made them go serve their enemies. But here's the plot twist, Garfield. When they went to Babylon, when they went to Assyria, when they went to the Hellenistic period, the Israelites still knew who they were. Mm-hmm. Even after God took away their heritage, the Israelites still knew they were Israelites. That's the plot twist. So
let me ask you a question. What was the inheritance for the Israelites? Wasn't it the land?
The inheritance was their land. Absolutely. It was the land.
So the conversation is over right here.
Yes.
You ain't got to go no further. But listen, let me just show the people on the screen the actual scriptures so that we could talk about it. Because when you read it a while ago, I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, wow, what's going on here? So this is basic, family. And you yourself will relinquish the inheritance. So what is inheritance? Minohalateka, which is something inherited, an occupancy, an heirloom, an estate. What did you inherit from Yahweh when he gave y'all the land of Israel? So if the inheritance is that I gave you, I will enslave you to your enemies in a land, okay, taken away, so you do not know, for you have kindled my anger, it will burn forever. Da, 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 da. So that means the land that you were living in, he took it away from you. So why is this has to be the whole thing about taking away this and that and your inheritance, so you forgot? So why the Jews in Babylon were following Torah? They were following the Sabbath, and they followed the diet. They follow kosher stuff for 2,500 years. They didn't forget their languages, and these are literal Judeans. I don't think the camps know about this. They don't know that Sennacherib took 200,000 Judeans, 90% of Judeans, and those never came back. What about those Jews? They don't know, bro. They gotta know the history behind this stuff, because the Bible alone is not sufficient. You'll get people to, it sounds good. We are those people. I want to be chosen too. Who wouldn't want to be chosen? I want to be chosen. But to come back and say this is you because of X, Y, and Z, that is just absolutely nuts. But let me play this clip, by the way, by my brother, Priest Daniel. I want you to look at this real quickly. This clip that Priest made a couple years ago.
Okay, he destroyed all their images, right? And the blacks that were living in England, Ireland, and Scotland, he rounded them up and sold them into slavery in the Caribbean and the Americas, and I can prove it, and I will in my 4-hour lecture. That's what happened to the images and us in Europe, as this is a fact. All right, let's move on. I don't want to stay too long. Y'all get the general gist of this, and you'll see this slide again as we go on later. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, here's another one we want to look at, right? This is a question, without me giving too much away for the lecture coming up. This is a question that I have. The man that you're looking at on the screen is James III. Okay, it says, will the real James III please stand up? So we have a question. We have a debate now. Who's really James III? I say the guy on the left is fake. I say the guy on the right is the real guy. The guy on the right is black. The guy on the left is a Caucasian. I say the guy on the right is the real James III. Who is James III? Well, let me break down the history for you. You had King James, the famous King James, the 6th and the 1st, right? He died. His son, Charles I, came into power, right? Charles I was beheaded by Oliver Cromwell, a guy we just read about, because he hated the Stuart family. He finally was able to get a hold of power, and he beheaded King Charles I, and Oliver Cromwell came into power. When Oliver Cromwell died, his son came into power, but his son was a coward. So what his son did was his son brought back the Stuart family, and you had Charles II that came and sat on the throne, which was the grandson of King James. Again, you had King James, you had Charles I, you had Charles II. Charles II died, and his brother came into power, James II, right? And after James II died, this guy on the screen, James III, came into power. My question to James White and Vocab Malone and all the rest of these clowns is, if King James was white, if Charles I was white, if Charles II was white, if James III was white, how the hell did they get a black grandson? Explain that to me. How the hell did they do it? I want to know. And this image is a real image. It's not something that somebody made up in a dark room somewhere. That is Charles III. And if he was already white, why did they feel the need to repaint the image and make it whiter? Because you can look at that and you can see the Negroid features in the one on the right. The broad nose, the full lips, the brown face, the whole nine. That's a black man. And this is the great grandson of King James, who y'all say was white. So where did the black blood come from? Next slide, Brother Bossy. And just in case you think I made it up, you ever heard of Christie's auction house? They got a hold of the image of James III and they auctioned it off. So if the image on the right is not the real image, Basim, go back one slide real quick. Go back one slide. Christie's auction house auctioned off the black picture on the right as the authentic. So if the guy on the left, which is what Google Images is going to give you, if the guy on the left is really James III, then why did Christie's auction house auction off the black one on the right as being authentic? Go to the next slide, Basim. And this picture belongs to a private collector because, again, they don't want these images laying around for Negroes to get a hold of. But these things leak out and we get a hold of them anyway. So here we have the great-grandson of King James, who everybody says was white, being a black man. I want to know what y'all going to do. I want an explanation for that. I want an explanation for that. Y'all just insisted he was a white boy. I need an explanation in where this black guy come from the line. That's your homework. Next slide, Brother Basim. James III, pictured on the right, became king in 1701. He is the great-grandson of King James, the famous one, 1566 to 1625. But again, how was this black man the grandson of King James I when historians say James I was a white man and his son Charles I was white? And why did they feel the need to repaint the image if he was a white man to begin with? It's the same image, y'all. You see the leather thing on the left? You see the leather thing on the left shoulder? You see the armor? You see all that? They just changed it, changed the nose, changed the lips and everything, and the guy on the left looks gay too. I'm just saying. Next.
So gays have a look. Wow. So Daniela, and by the way, this is not a shot at Daniela, all right, because y'all know me and Daniela is cool, but I did a whole presentation refuting and debunking this whole King James is black and he's not a homosexual. I did a whole presentation on that. You could check it out on Sarnetta. These are some, and I made some errors in it that he pointed out too. But anyway, he says, Daniela says black slaves from Ireland, England, and Scotland were sold to slave owners in the Caribbean. I said, I need to see the documentation of these slaves, the insurance record, disembarkation, and embarkation records. And for the record, there is, my brother, Truth Stern always get me. The Irish and the Scottish were never slaves. You can't equate what the African descendants were with these folks who came over as. They were actually, some of them were conned, and some of them came over in as indentured servants. And some of them were released after 7 years. They were able to buy their freedom or get their freedom after 7 years. So that's not the same thing like what we went through. Please, I don't want anybody saying they were Irish slaves and whatever. This is the whole thing with Cromwell. There was a war, and some of the prisoners of war were sent over to the Caribbean, but they weren't black. If you watch the beginning of the show, I brought up a book called Making the Race in British Colonialism. And it showed that the word black don't mean black. White don't mean white. It doesn't mean that. They would call black people, they would either call them Negroes, which is saying that they're from African descent. They would call them Ethiopians, or they would call them blackamoors. That's the only three things that they would call black people. What we call black people today, they would call them in England. Let me say it again. Negro, meaning you're from of African descent. 2, Ethiopians. 3, blackamoors. Those are the three things that they call. They would call white people swarthy, tawny, or dark. These are things they call white people who are not as white as they are. Because the British were the elite. Y'all gotta get the book, the King James in his whiteness. At his funeral, they called him white. They described him as white, as a white man, physically white, literally. So I don't want to get into that right now, but look at this now. I think he made an error about the Oliver Cromwell and the Thomas Cromwell and all that stuff. All right, so this is the website he got it from, the www website, which is run by a white person. So because they both have on the same armor, that means the pick is whitewash. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the person that actually did the drawing, Francois de Troyes. If you look at Francois de Troyes, all right, Francois de Troyes, this is the person, and they tell you who the person's portrait is of. The portrait, see, portrait of mulatto in armor. This is French. I don't speak French. It's a portrait of a mulatto in armor. A mulatto, not King James. It doesn't say that this is King James III. It does not. And I repeat, there's tons of paintings. See, 38,000, 318,000. Look at this, Venus and all these ugly paintings selling for over 318,000. This one is for 4.4 million. They got a bunch of stuff selling on the website. So that's not proof that it's King James III. Now, this is the image that I have of King James III on record. This is from NPR, another image. This is another image. This is the image that my brother, Priest Daniela, brought up. Is this the description of a white man or a black man? Look at what they described him, how they look. The young man is above the middle height and very thin. He wears a light bag wig. His face is rather long. The complexion is clear but borders on paleness. The forehead very broad, the eyes fairly large, blue. Is that the description of the average black man? Paleness? So I don't see where he got that from. I got that from this right here. James III, Source Dictionary of National Biography, Volume 10, page 108, which is actually during that timeline. All right, hold on a second here. Let me see this text message from K. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Now, Garfield, I want to ask you a question, Garfield, because I asked this to Priest Daniela a while back. How come when we talk about, okay, in history, that the apostles were black, people in Council of Nicaea were black, Jesus was black, the prophets were black, when we get to the medieval times, they were black, so on and so forth. But all of a sudden, when we start asking about, you know, who in their community, quote unquote, Northern Kingdom, all of a sudden now color doesn't matter. How come color matters back then, but it doesn't matter now?
Hold on 1 second, bro. Hold on 1 second. Let me just show something real quickly here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me also say this. The One West teachings, and I learned all of this from Priest Daniela speaking, because I never studied this stuff before. I said I made a video 4 years ago and said, so I said, bro, I'm gonna review your stuff and I'm gonna study it. What I'm saying to people is we got to stop looking at color of black and white, because it's gonna screw us up when we read in the description. King James White was a white woman and was at the time a beautiful girl, even in later times, her white skin and yellow hair. This is King James' wife. So King James' wife, these are images of her, but look at the image that he's using. This is the problem. I'm not saying, hold on, let me make this bigger so everybody could see this. We have it all wrong, family. This again they're using websites that don't have scholarship, and it's messing up everybody's, because now once we look at one piece of information, we're gonna say all the information is wrong. And Priest Daniela I think he's
Let's bring it a little closer to home.
Listen
right?
to this. Listen to this, family.
Now stay with me, y'all. This is Elizabeth of Bohemia. She is actually the physical daughter of King James himself. It is through her that the Hanover dynasty, which came into power after the Stuarts, it is through her that the Hanover dynasty came into power. Now, the whitewashers couldn't get the lie straight. Did Elizabeth of Bohemia have black curly hair? Did she have red curly long hair? Did she have a red afro? Did she have red long curly hair, like all the way on the right? I got that from Google Images. They can't even get their lie straight. They got this woman looking like 5 different things. You know why? You know why the images don't match? Because they're all lies. That's why. That's why. Because as we read before, Oliver Cromwell destroyed 97% of the art that was in England. So all of this is garbage. When you look to the right, this is a coin of Elizabeth of Bohemia. And you can see she has the broad nose, the full lips, and the afro. Why? Because she was a black woman. That's why. And the image still stands today on its coin, even though the other images were destroyed. All right. Now, remember, I said it is through her that the Hanovers came into power, meaning through her line, the Hanover dynasty came into power. Remember, you had the Tudors, right? Mary Queen of Scots was the last of the Tudors. After the Tudors, you had the Stuarts, okay? And the Stuarts were black. After the Stuarts, you had the Hanovers, right? So now this woman is the progenitor of the Hanover dynasty. Let's look at some of the Hanover people, shall we? Next slide. This is Queen Charlotte Sophia. Now, if these people were all white, why do they go through so much trouble of whitewashing them? On the left, I went to Google Images and I got all these images of Queen Charlotte Sophia. Clearly, you can see that they just made her totally look like a white woman. But on the right, that's the real image of Charlotte Sophia. And it was painted by her personal painter, Alan Ramsay. And if you ask me, yes, I have the book. Yes. The image on the right is the actual image of Queen Charlotte Sophia. She is the wife of King George III of the Hanover dynasty that was ruling England in the 1700s. This is after the Stuarts, after King James. Still we was ruling. But they said that we just making this stuff up. Next slide.
All right. I want y'all to look at this real carefully. And again, I'm not knocking my brother Daniel. I think he's one of the better camp guys. If there's a camp I would join, I definitely would join his camp because of the discipline and how structured they are. But let me say this. This is hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Photoshop picture. As you see, they made the forehead bigger. They made her nose flatter, and they made her lips bigger. They don't even have the right picture, the right image. What is the source of this picture? It's only on 2 websites, African Resource and realwww.history.www.com, which is run by a white woman. So this is the image. Hold on a second here. Let me see this text. All right, before I get to that text. The pick or coin might be legit until I see a primary source is difficult. The nose looks altered. But look at this image right here. This is what she looks like, right? This is King James' wife, right? They said orange here or whatever. So she has like orange colored here and she's pale. And this is what it says in the records. And these are primary sources, records from the National Biography, which my brother uses also. Her white skin and yellow hair. What should I take from that? I mean, come on. What are we doing? What are we really doing? With Charlotte, I'm not too worried about Charlotte, but another issue is Alan Ramsey drew this picture that he says is fake of King George III. Why is it Alan Ramsey, her personal? Why would he draw King George III like that? And then they said, this is the real image. Hold on, is this, hold on, let me see if this is the video. Is this the video? Hold on, where's it at? Right here. Okay, here we go. I'm about to go on Berean, by the way, too, live in a few minutes.
Now we got to ask about George III. Charlotte Sophia was married to this guy right here. This is King George III. On the left-hand side, you see an image of George III that you can find on Google Images with ease. On the right-hand side, you see an image of who also is George III. That's the real image. That is a coin that was minted in commemoration of George III that was put on the penny in Barbados. So when they went ahead and they were destroying all the black art and putting up the garbage that you see on the left, as I said before, the coins still remained. They didn't get to the coins to destroy them. They weren't able to melt them all down. They were still in circulation. And luckily they've been found. And that guy on the left, on the right-hand side, is an image of George III. That's the real image of how he looked. Now, somebody's saying, nigga, how do you know that? How you know that? Next slide. Well, you like Google so much, why don't you just type it in? I took a screenshot of a Google search just so people wouldn't say that I just made it up. You type in Google Images, George III, Barbados penny, and voila. They have the images of penny from Barbados, and Google is telling you, if you're listening, that is George III. That's him, not the guy that you saw before. Hope everybody sees that, right? Now, if you look also, they throw in at the bottom, second row, they throw in some other coins as well. But those coins are not ancient. They were not minted during the time of George III. When you do research, the coins that you see that look more Caucasian, these coins were minted later on, just so y'all know. All right. Next slide.
Oh man. Listen, family. This is what he says is a fake image. This is the real image, right? This is the coin from Barbados. So the black king is on a coin that says I serve. That's the first problem. This is a black African man. All you had to do, Daniela, is follow a balanced approach instead of copying a website. Did you check out Sir Philip Gibbs, who it is said to have privately commissioned this coin? So this coin right here, the penny was struck in 1788, the first coin to be used on the island. It is thought to have been privately commissioned by Sir Philip Gibbs, a local plantation owner, is therefore considered a token rather than a legal tender. The front or obverse of the coin has the profile of a black African man or woman with a plume crown above the words "I serve." Enslaved Africans had worked the sugar plantations of Barbados since the mid 1600s. Now, I also have a book that actually shows the coins under the British Commonwealth, and it definitely documents where the coin come from and where the coins and the countries that use the coin. Sir Philip Gibbs and Barbados, and him actually licensing this coin and all that stuff. So, and then we have another book that shows the African with the crown, the currency. So these are Africans. That's not George III. But in this book, the coins and tokens of the position and colonies of the British Empire, it has George III right here. See, it actually has a copy of the coin of what it looks like. So this actually looks like this. It does look like that. So if you want to use lookership, it's right there. That's what he looks like. He don't look like this. That's an African with a plume on his head. Shield of arms, crown. This is from 1773 in Virginia. So, you know, but I'll say this though. Let me the brothers are concerned about the information. I'm gonna say this though. Because of Priest Daniela, he forced me to research these things. We need to understand what happened with the church and dismantling of certain things off the walls with Cromwell and all that stuff. What they did, ladies and gentlemen, they basically removed the stuff, the items, the pictures and all that stuff. It wasn't about whitewashing. I don't know if whitewashing our race is some sort of motivation. Reformation had to do with a breakaway from the Catholic Church. And it had nothing to do with black Pixar images. It's political. And it's also theological. Because look at Calvin's church, the Calvinists. Look at their church. This is what their church looks like. They removed all the images of Mary and all that stuff. They say, hey, we ain't worshiping Mary like the Catholic Church. This is what it has to do with. It ain't got nothing to do with no color, nobody's skin and reform. I'm not saying they never whitewash images because that's definitely documented. But if you look at all the images, come on, iconoclasm is more a religious belief that images should be destroyed as they are forbidden, dangerous, as they could be worshipped in their own right. So that's what it had to do with. It ain't had nothing to do with no black or white family. Come on. I just got to be honest. That's what it had to do with. Exodus 24 and all that stuff. They took it literally. They ain't had nothing to do with no black or white picture, man. Come on, man. We gotta, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Definitely not doing that. You know, but to each his own, man. I'm about to go on Bereen show, but go ahead, Ron.
Hey, I was going to ask a question, Garfield, regarding this. Like, what is the objective for them to prove that King James was black, or let alone an Israelite? His color wouldn't even matter if the history of King James and all these, especially King James, when they married, I believe, the Douglas family, where they believed they were Israelites. That's actually from his maternal side, from his grandmother. It's not from their father's side. And you know, in their doctrine, you are what your father is. So even if King James is black, or quote unquote, he doesn't mean he's an Israelite, because the line of the Douglas family where King James' family married into was from his grandmother's side. And that disqualifies him right there. So what would be the objective for them to prove, you know, all these people being black?
All right, more is on. So let me jump over to Brother Bereen. We're going to go over to Brother Bereen. I'm going to do pretty much the same thing live. Peace and love to y'all, man. One love, respect.
Peace and love, Garfield.
Booyaka, booyaka. All right, peace and love, family.
Peace and love, Garfield.
Thank you, my brother. Peace and love. Peace.